Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. And I hope you enjoy this one. This story is all about what if Naruto explored the possibilities of becoming a football player. An orphan living in poverty with a dream to make it big. A street rat trying to escape from the slums. Football was the only thing he was good at, it was his only hope. To him, football was not just a hobby or a career option. It was his lifeline. Welcome aboard! Chapter 1 Dream, I. It's noodles again. A heavy sigh came out of his chest as he peeled off the top of the instant ramen cup and poured some water into it. 3 minutes later, the microwave oven's beeping sound signaled that it was ready. As he slurped on his noodles, he looked at his surroundings with a tired, dead look in his eyes. That had to be the tiniest apartment in existence, with a length of 4 meters and a width of 2 meters. There was only enough space for a single-person bed, a toilet, a small sink, a stool with a microwave oven on top of it, and a narrow shower cab. The room was so cramped that the shower cab and the sink were literally next to the bed, with the toilet being the only thing half a meter away. It was not that different from a prison cell. Looking at his deplorable living conditions, a note appeared in his neck, and he stopped eating. He couldn't even swallow his food anymore. Leaving his cup of ramen and his chopsticks on top of the microwave oven for a moment, he stood up and pulled out the drawer under the bed that was the only place where he could store his clothes. Grabbing a worn-out orange hoodie and a pair of washed black joggers, he changed from his high school uniform into those clothes. On his feet, he was wearing a pair of beat-up checkered Vans sneakers, but their soles were so thin and worn out that it felt almost as if he was walking barefoot. Grabbing his cup of ramen and his chopsticks in one hand, he only stopped a bit in front of the door to grab his football from the floor before leaving his tiny apartment behind. A few minutes later, he stopped at a nearby public park for children. Seeing as it was at sunset, there were no children at all. He was the only person there. Matching the poor district he was living in, the playground didn't look that great either, but it was many times better than the gloomy sight of his tiny one-room apartment. Once he was done eating his now-cold noodles, he threw the cup and the chopsticks into a nearby trash bin and grabbed his football. Although he was exhausted from his part-time job, his dead eyes seemed to come to life the moment his foot touched the ball. Hours passed as he played by himself, the wall of a building his only passing partner. Football was his refuge. It was the only thing that gave him the strength to keep on struggling, to keep on living. It was the only thing that gave him hope. By the time he stopped, it was almost midnight. Carrying his football under his arm, the teen trudged back to his tiny home. Tomorrow school. And then work again. His grip on the ball tightened. I can't keep on living like this. He was an orphan. His mother died giving birth to him, and his father died of overworking 2 years ago. He had nothing to his name, no relatives to support him, no money, not even good grades at school, and even if he had been gifted when it came to studying, it would have not amounted to much considering that he had to work every day after school in order to live. Just paying the rent for his matchbox-like apartment and putting food on his table was a struggle. As it was, he had no future. He would be slaving away his entire life doing manual labor just to survive. No. I still have a chance. A tiny hope. An almost impossible chance, but it was the only thing he could cling to, the hope that one day, he would become a professional football player. If there was one thing he was talented at, it was football. Whether at school or among the boys and young men living in the neighborhood, he had never met anyone better than him. That was his gift. However, football is a game with 11 people in a team. No matter how good he was, it was too hard for him to win all the games by himself if his other teammates didn't pull their weight, and that was exactly the case for his high school football team. As a high school where most students who attended were from the slums, whether it was in academics or in sports, it was one of the worst schools in Tokyo. I can't give up, he thought, and his hands pressed so hard against the football that his fingernails became white. It's my last year of high school. Even if it kills me, we have to win. We have to go to the nationals. He was 18 years old, he was already considered a little old for being selected by a professional football club. Most clubs tended to take in teens around the ages of 14 or 15 and shape them up into the players they needed. But, more importantly, it was the last chance he had to attract a football club's attention. As small as the chance for his high school team to pass the prefectural qualifier tournament was, it was his only hope. It was the only way he could see out of his current lifestyle. The only way to escape from the hell of poverty. A few weeks later. Stop him. No matter what, don't let him shoot, the goalkeeper yelled at his teammates. I can't take this freak's shots if he gets inside the box. From the side of the pitch, the coach of the other team hollered at his players. Uzumaki! Stop hogging the ball, you selfish prick. Flanked by a midfielder and a fullback defender and facing off against a center-back, Naruto was driven off close to the touchline. You hear me, Uzumaki? Pass the ball, the coach screamed until his voice became hoarse. As if he couldn't hear his coach's instructions, Naruto planted his left foot firmly into the ground and moved back his main foot in a motion that seemed as if he was about to shoot. Although his positioning was awkward, he was on the left side of the pitch, between the touchline and the corner of the penalty area. The three opposite team players did not dare underestimate him because he had already scored once that day from a similar position. Stop him, several players from the opposite team screamed at the same time, and the fullback and center-back defenders that had been containing him charged at him simultaneously for a tackle. Oh shit, the midfielder at his flank cussed. That's because it was a feint. Knowing that the opposite team was terrified of his shooting, Naruto had baited the center-back defender into tackling him thoughtlessly and slipped the ball through his legs before rushing past him like a bullet. Leaving behind the three players that had been containing him, he charged with the ball through the hole that they had left in the defense. Sweat started pouring down the opposite team's goalie as he watched the blonde run towards him like a mad bull. He couldn't even react to the absolute piss missile Naruto launched at him. It was only after he felt the wind accompanying the ball blowing past his ear that he realized that Naruto had scored yet another goal. Halftime break. Listen to me, Uzumaki, the coach said angrily, almost shouting. You're good. You're the ace of our team. But if you continue to play that selfishly, I'll be forced to sub you out. Maybe I wouldn't be so selfish if the strikers weren't so fucking useless. What did you say? One of his teammates bristled and pushed him. But, in the next moment, that guy found himself lifted off his feet and slammed into the lockers behind him. You're shoving me now, dipshit? Ha? You wanna fight? Uzumaki, put him down. Put him down this instant if you still care about getting on the pitch in the second half, the coach threatened when Naruto didn't let go of his teammate right away. Turning towards the coach, Naruto said, his voice filled with anger. These guys had 3 chances to score and fumbled them all. Every time I passed the ball to them, they did jack shit with it. I gave Sato the perfect cross and he was alone with the goalkeeper, but he couldn't even trap the ball, much less shoot. As for Tanaka, he shot off target 2 times. Why the fuck should I pass the ball to these idiots? The team adopted a standard 4-4-2 formation, and Naruto's position was that of a left winger. As a winger, it was in the job description to create opportunities and pass the ball to the strikers. However, with the forwards of his team fumbling scoring chances so many times, he was forced to shoot himself. Football is a sport you play in a team, the coach retorted. You can't just dash. You don't get it, do you? The score is 2-2, and that's only because I scored both times. What's the point of team play and passing around if we can't win? Nothing matters if we don't score. Naruto shouted back. The rest of the team sat quietly on the bench and watched the ongoing shouting match, not saying a peep. Their coach had a notoriously bad temper, but Uzumaki Naruto could be even worse sometimes. With his blonde hair, his unusually strong and sturdy body, the strange scars on his face, and his violent behavior, in his teammates' eyes, he looked like a dangerous thug. It was better for them not to get involved in their argument. Don't force me to do it, Uzumaki. Don't force my hand, or I'll make you sit on the bench for the rest of the game. You won't ruin this for me, you shitty geezer. Naruto said dangerously and stepped closer to him. If you take me out of the game, I swear to God, I'll crush you. Did you just threaten me? The coach spat back at him and clenched his fists. I did. If we lose this game too, we are out of the qualifiers. I'm in senior year, this is my last chance to go to the nationals, he said, getting into his face. If you sit me out just out of spite and we end up losing the game, I'll make you afraid to walk alone on the streets of Arakawa. I have nothing else to lose. The coach subconsciously took a step back from him at those words. Goddamn mixed thug, he said in a voice filled with vitriol. No wonder nobody wants to be around you. Fine. Do whatever the hell you want. But you'll see that you can't win a football game all by yourself. And with that, the coach left the locker and slammed the door so hard behind him that the whole room rattled. Later that day. It's over. He was lying in bed on his back, looking at the peeled-off paint on the ceiling with a numb look on his face. His dream of becoming a professional football player was essentially over. In the end, the football team's coach's words came true. He could not win the match by himself. Although he scored 2 more goals in the second half, an impressive total of 4 goals. Even that was not enough. Useless fucking trash, he suddenly said in anger. The defenders and the goalkeeper played so poorly in the second half that Naruto was almost tempted to believe that it was on purpose. The game ended with the opposite team's victory, with a score of 5-4 in their favor. What am I going to do now? Football was the only thing he was good at. His grades in school were barely above the passing score, and he didn't have any other notable skills or capabilities. All he had was an athletic body and a talent for football. Against his will, tears started falling from his eyes. But he wiped them off with the sleeve of his sweatshirt and got up from the bed. It was time for him to go to his part-time job. It was around 9 p.m. when Naruto finally left from his work. Considering that it was the beginning of November, it was dark outside and the temperature was low. A cold drizzle soaked him to the bone. I should quit school, he said to himself as he walked home slowly in spite of the rain, dragging his feet in exhaustion. He had left everything on the pitch earlier that day, not sparing any effort to win. And after that, he spent 4 more hours doing nothing but unloading containers filled with furniture. Although he was strong and tough for his age, 4 hours of lifting and carrying heavy boxes by hand every day were enough to exhaust even grown men. Yeah, I should drop out. There's no point in wasting my time in school anymore. Until then, he had tried his best to attend high school solely for the sake of being able to play on the high school football team. But now it was over, they lost in the prefectural qualifiers. Seeing as it was his last year of high school, that had been his last chance. If I quit, I could get a full-time job. If he got a full-time job, he would have more options. He could search for an easier job instead of killing his back every day for chump change. Once I save up some money, I could also move out of Tokyo. Although he lived in an ill-famed district of Tokyo in an apartment as small as a matchbox, it was still in the capital of Japan. Just the rent for his place was no less than 50,000 yen. Adding to that the costs of food and utilities, the money from his part-time job was barely enough for him to survive from one month to another. 1. Somewhere in the countryside or a small town. The rent for a similar place wouldn't be even half of what I'm paying now. Thinking about that made his mind go back to how his dreams and aspirations were crushed earlier that day. Nevertheless, despite his depression, he was a survivor in the end. He had been surviving and living on his own since the age of 16, when his father passed away. But as he walked down the garbage-littered streets, an unusual sight attracted his attention. It was a girl, and, by the looks of her stylish fabric overcoat, the elegant umbrella, and the expensive black leather ankle boots she was wearing, well, she did not belong there. A rich girl gallivanting around the slum area of the Arakawa ward of Tokyo at that time of the night and alone to boot? She must be crazy. Japan was known worldwide for its low crime rate, but that did not mean it was a perfect utopia. Crime still did happen. Walking alone, especially as a girl or a young woman, in an ill-famed neighborhood at night was clearly tempting the fates. As if to prove his thoughts right, only a few moments later, he noticed 2 middle-aged men walking at a moderate pace behind her. One glance was enough for him to realize that they were following her. I can't pretend I didn't see anything, can I? Taking out his phone, it was an old but durable model, he typed in the number of the police and started the call. What if the police don't get here in time? Thinking of that, despite how exhausted he was, his conscience didn't allow him to stay still and pretend it had nothing to do with him. He started following the two men and the young girl from a distance. After a few minutes of walking, both the girl and the two men following her disappeared around the corner of an intersection. By the time Naruto reached the intersection as well, however, all three of them were nowhere to be seen. Breaking into a run, he rushed to the nearest side alley he could see, all the while expecting the worst. At that moment, as if to confirm his fears, several screams of pain broke the silence of the night, but they were not the screams of a girl. When he finally arrived at the side alley where the scream had come from, Naruto froze in stupefaction at the sight in front of his eyes. The girl who looked like a feeble and vulnerable target while walking down the streets was now standing over the unmoving bodies of the two middle-aged men with a bloodied and bent umbrella in her hand and a crazed smile on her face. Chapter 2 Dream 2. When the girl noticed his arrival, she lunged at him with her bloodied umbrella, not wasting a second. "Wait," Naruto said as he jumped back to avoid her swing. "I'm not here to hurt you. Calm down." But the girl seemed to not hear him as she lunged at him again, this time with a stab. "God damn it," he swore. "It was my only good hoodie." Although he was agile enough to dodge her stab, the side of his hoodie was still caught and ripped apart by the tip of her umbrella. "Calm down, you crazy chick," he shouted at her, but the girl took advantage of his momentary stillness to swing her umbrella at him vertically, intent on smashing his skull. Having had enough of her attacks, when she swung her umbrella the next time, he unexpectedly caught it in his hands and yanked it away. But the girl's grip on the handle of her makeshift weapon was so strong that when Naruto yanked the umbrella away, he pulled her together with it too, making her stumble and fall onto the ground. Being thrown onto the ground seemed to have woken up the girl from her strange state of mind before. The deranged smile from before disappeared from her face, and instead, a wary expression took its place as she looked at him. "Finally back to your senses," he said in annoyance, but when he thought that the girl had just been assaulted by two older men, he let out a deep sigh. "Look, I'm not going to hurt you. I was worried when I saw you were being followed. I have already called the police." "Ah. Thank you," she said quietly. "What is someone like you doing around these parts of the city and at this hour, anyway?" Naruto tried to strike up a conversation while waiting for the police to arrive at the scene. But the girl didn't reply. Hugging the now broken umbrella to her chest, she put some distance between herself and Naruto and took shelter from the rain under the building's eaves. She must be in shock, Naruto thought when he saw how she was staring quietly at the two unconscious men on the ground. Truthfully, it was hard to guess at a glance who was the assaulter and who was the victim. It had only taken him a few minutes to get there, but in that short period of time, the girl had beaten up those men to a pulp. He stopped thinking about it though when he heard the police sirens approaching. "What am I being held here for?" Naruto asked for the second time in the past hour. "You can't leave until all the involved parties have given a statement," one of the policemen said. "You've got to be kidding me. I'm the one who called you. You can check my number in your system, can't you? Ask that girl too, I didn't do anything to her," he said, raising his voice. "He's not wrong, Aoi-san. He would have no reason to call the police if he wanted to do anything to her," the other policeman said. "My point exactly," Naruto said. "You shut your mouth," the first policeman bristled at Naruto. "I know your kind very well. Just by looking at you, I can tell you're a delinquent and a hooligan. What's with those ripped and messy clothes? What's with those tattoos on your face? And you're a hafu to boot too. You're telling me you were just out for a walk on the streets when you happened to see a damsel in distress and went to save her? For all I know, you could be in cohorts with those drunkards too." 1. "I just got out of work," Naruto yelled, unable to keep his cool anymore. "And my clothes are the way they are because I'm poor. What would you want me to do? Should I go rob someone to dress up nicely or what?" Just as the officer named Aoi was about to fire back another cutting remark, the door opened, and another policeman said, "Oi. That big shot," the girl's father arrived. Hearing their colleague's words, the two policemen left the room, leaving Naruto sitting alone at the table. Mr. Busujima. Good evening. I'm glad you could come in person, the first police officer said in a fawning voice. The one he was talking to was a tall and elegantly dressed middle-aged man. In spite of his grizzled hair and the wrinkles on his face betraying the passage of time, he was well built, his back was straight, and his eyes commanded an inspiring presence. Of course that I would come in person. It's my daughter we're talking about. Mr. Busujima spoke, his steely voice making the police officer's enthusiasm drop instantly. Turning away from the policeman, he asked, "Why did you put the boy in the interrogation room?" "Well, you see, it's a safety measure we take for all the seedy-looking people. This boy saved my daughter's innocence tonight, he saved her life." "Yet you're treating him like a criminal?" When Mr. Busujima suddenly started shouting, the policeman froze like a deer in headlights. "What was your name again, officer?" "Saito Aoi, sir," the policeman said with a stammer. "Well, then, Saito-san, I'll make sure to have some words with your superiors first thing tomorrow morning." While Mr. Busujima was in the middle of rebuking the policeman who had given Naruto a hard time, Naruto himself laid his head on the table and closed his eyes. None of the yelling and shouting could be heard beyond the mirror-like window, as the room was soundproofed. The football match in the first half of the day and then the hard work at his part-time job, coupled with the late hour, it was past midnight by now, made him unknowingly fall asleep. Even as Mr. Busujima entered the interrogation room together with the two police officers, he didn't hear a thing, he was sleeping like a log. It took one of the policemen to shake his shoulder for nearly half a minute before he woke up. "Am I finally free to go home now? Or you racist cucks are gonna find another lame pretext to keep me here until tomorrow?" Naruto said while rubbing at his eyes and letting out a yawn. The cop's face looked like he was on the verge of blowing up. It was only Mr. Busujima's presence that stopped him from whipping out his baton. "Hello. My name is Busujima Masao. Thank you for rescuing my daughter tonight," he said and bowed his head respectfully. Looking at the obviously wealthy middle-aged man bowing to him like that made Naruto uncomfortable. "It was nothing," he muttered. "She didn't need saving anyway. By the time I got there, everything was over." It is the gesture that matters. Not many would risk their safety for the sake of others at such a late hour and while they are outnumbered. "Would you please allow me to escort you home?" "It's fine. I can get home by myself," Naruto tried to refuse. "I insist. I couldn't let you walk such a long distance through the rain, this late at night." "So, where to? Where do you live?" Mr. Busujima asked as he operated the car's GPS. "Arakawa Ward, in Sanya," Naruto muttered, turning his head to look through the window. There was no one in Tokyo who didn't know about Sanya. It was famous even abroad as the poorest district of Tokyo. The rest of the drive was spent in a very uncomfortable silence. If it wasn't enough that he could feel the girl's eyes on him the entire time, she was in the back seat behind the driver, he also felt entirely out of place in that car. With his beaten up and washed clothes, sweaty from his job, and wet because of the rain, he looked no different than a beggar. The contrast between his appearance and the luxurious interior of the car only made him feel worse. If Naruto had been familiar with cars, he would have been able to tell from a glance that Mr. Busujima's car was a Toyota Century, the latest model. However, although he didn't know the exact model and specifications of the car, he could tell it was the kind of luxury car that one would usually only get to see in movies. Nevertheless, as he looked through the window aimlessly, he realized after a while that they weren't getting any closer to his home. I think you took the wrong turn a few blocks away," Naruto said. "My apologies. It was actually on purpose." Hearing him say that instantly set Naruto on edge. The hesitant and awkward mood around him was suddenly replaced by a sharp look. "Where are you taking me?" In spite of Naruto's alarmed state, the middle-aged man remained calm, just like before. "You have nothing to worry about. I know you are tired after your part-time job. I also know it's late and that you have to go to school tomorrow. But please bear with us. I promise I will make it worth your while." 15 minutes later, Naruto found himself sitting in the Busujima residence's living room. All the luxury around him made him feel out of place. He didn't even touch the tea that a server brought. Who the hell hires private waiters for their home, he inwardly thought. All he wanted was for this meeting to be over and for him to go back to his shabby home, take a shower, jump in his bed, and sleep. Since there is nobody to eavesdrop on us now, we can finally talk freely, Mr. Busujima said after taking a sip from his cup of tea and leaning back on his couch. What am I supposed to say now? Naruto asked in confusion. He didn't understand what else was there to talk about. He happened to see a girl about to be attacked at night, and he called the police. End of story. Tell me your price. 1 million yen? Seeing the teenager in front of him not saying a word, he pressed on. 10 million, then? When Naruto still didn't say anything, he took a notebook from his chest pocket and placed a small white card on the coffee table. It was a blank check card. Whatever your price is, please note it down. Having had enough of this farce, Naruto finally lost his patience. What the hell is going on? I'd appreciate it if you stopped playing dumb, young man, Mr. Busujima shot back. For fuck's sake, I just want to go home and sleep. What the hell do you want from me? Naruto said, aggravated, and stood up to leave. Realizing that Naruto truly didn't understand what was going on, the middle-aged man was momentarily speechless. Are you telling me you don't know who I am? Or who my daughter is? Now listen here, old man. I've had a long and shitty day. A very shitty day. Either tell me directly what your deal is or let me go home. I don't want any trouble, I just got out of the police station. I'm the younger brother of the Minister of Sports, Art, and Culture, Busujima Osamu. My daughter, Busujima Siko, is a 2-time All-Japan Kendo Championship winner. Are you saying you've never heard of either of these names before? I haven't. I have bigger things to worry about, like what am I going to eat tomorrow or how am I going to pay the rent this month? I don't have the time to follow celebrities' lives, Naruto said. Anyway, what's this money for? The middle-aged man looked at him in silence for a few long seconds before saying, You probably know this already, but if word of tonight's incident gets out, Siko's career will be over. The laws and regulations for combat athletes are very harsh. Using their skills to severely injure others is a surefire way for them to not only lose their careers but, if worse came to worst, they could even end up in prison. When he put it like that, Naruto finally understood his behavior up until that moment. In truth, even he could tell that what the girl had done to those two men went well beyond what could be called self-defense. She had beaten them up until they fainted. So that money was to buy my silence, huh? Mr. Busujima did not reply to his rhetorical question. Instead, he waited to see what he had to say next. I don't need your money, Naruto unexpectedly said. Not only was Mr. Busujima startled, but even the butler standing at the side was surprised too. Are you sure about that? The middle-aged man asked in doubt. I do look like I'd need the cash, don't I? Naruto said, chuckling in self-deprecation. I don't need money from you. But since you're such a big shot, I'd like to ask for a favor instead. Go on. Mr. Busujima said, his eyes narrowing in thought as he put his cup of tea on the table and leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. If you give me 1 or 10 million yen, it will be great, I'm not gonna lie. But that's not gonna do me much good in the long run because I'm not smart. I don't know how to invest and get rich. 1 or 2 years later, I'll probably be back to living in a dump and slaving every day at a shitty job. So I don't want any money from you, Naruto said. What I want is to become a professional football player. As if his exhaustion had been a lie all along, his facial expression was invigorated, and his previously dead eyes started burning with passion. One chance. One opportunity is all I want. I'm not even asking for you to get me into a football club through the back door. All I need is a chance to show them what I'm capable of. You said you're not smart, but in my eyes, you're smarter than most people I've seen until now, Mr. Busujima said to himself when he heard the teenager's words. Judging by his appearance, he looked exactly like a stereotypical street rat living in the slums. Mr. Busujima had expected him to jump at the chance to make a quick buck and be on his way. But the boy's thought process revealed the fact that he wasn't the person that Mr. Busujima thought he was. Don't judge a book by its cover, huh? He mused. That being said, there was one thing that Mr. Busujima was confused about. Introducing you to a professional football club to take their tests is certainly something that I could arrange without much difficulty. However, I must ask this, have you not received through the mail the invitation from Blue Lock? When he heard about the incident his daughter had gotten herself involved in, Mr. Busujima checked Naruto's background before they got to meet face to face. Knowing that he was an orphan living in the slums of Tokyo was the main reason why he thought of offering him money in order to buy his silence. That said, at the same time, as the brother of the Minister of Sports, Arts, and Culture, he was familiar with the Blue Lock initiative too. But his question threw Naruto off. Blue Lock? I've never heard of it, what is that? In the first place, I don't even have a mailbox. How would I receive any letters? Hearing that Naruto didn't even have a way to receive letters once again left Mr. Busujima stumped for words. Blue Lock is a new organization that appeared this year, he said eventually. A football organization that was created for the sole purpose of creating the best striker in the world. Exactly 300 high school boys had been selected to be part of the project. You, Uzumaki Naruto, are one of those 300 chosen ones too. You're not pulling my leg, are you? Naruto spoke, his voice weak from surprise. I am serious. In my honor. At those words, Naruto sat back on the sofa and buried his face in his palms. He had to take deep breaths and exhale slowly to calm down. Blue Lock has the full backing of the Japan Football Association. Not only will your accommodation and basic necessities be provided by the Blue Lock, but you will also have access to world-class training and facilities. Furthermore, those who distinguish themselves and finish in a top 5 rank among the 300 will get to play for the national football team of Japan. Shit, my tears won't stop. In spite of Mr. Busujima's insistence on giving him a ride home, Naruto had been adamant about going back alone. After saying his goodbyes and leaving the Busujima family's residence, he could no longer hold in his emotions anymore. Only a few hours before, he had been devastated, thinking that his dream of becoming a football player had been crushed forever. He had been planning on dropping out of high school to get a full-time job. However, it turned out that all was not lost. It was quite the opposite. Out of hundreds of thousands of high school boys in Japan, he had been selected as one of the 300 candidates to become a professional football player. And not just any player, but a player that would one day get to play for the national team. From the depths of despair, he was now on cloud 9. That entire day had been a roller coaster of emotions. A few days later. Whoa! Look at that dude, bro. A Yankee, you say? Yes, you might be right. Yes, he's just like a thug. How did he get selected into Blue Lock? Whoa, he's so scary, look at his face. Huh? You think they're knife scars? I think so too. Oh, no. He is looking at us now. We better keep quiet, brother. I don't want to get on his bad side. As strange and annoying as it was to listen to that one-sided chatter between the twin brothers, Naruto was more preoccupied with observing his surroundings. Together with him, there were 12 teenagers gathered in a rectangular room. As far as he could tell, he was probably the oldest of them all. I've never worn this kind of clothes before, he thought as he pulled at the navy blue spandex he was wearing. It was skin-tight, but somehow, it was not uncomfortable. The material seemed to be of high quality, too. Last but not least, the football boots on his feet were better than anything he had ever had. The locker room, the bathroom, these clothes, and the dormitory too. Everything looked so much better than his matchbox-like apartment. As someone who had lived his entire life in poverty, he was overwhelmed. Have you finished changing, diamonds in the rough? A voice rang from the speakers, and everyone raised their heads to look at the large screen hanging on a wall. The guys you were sharing your rooms with are both your roommates and your rivals who will help you improve. Your abilities have been quantified and ranked by me according to my arbitrary and biased decision-making. That is what the numbers on your uniform represent. You can tell at a glance what your rank out of 300 is. As Ego said that, everyone checked the numbers on their uniforms once again. On Naruto's right shoulder was the number 257. Your rank can change based on the results of your training or matches. And the top 5 players will unconditionally get to play for the U20 Japanese team. Those words made Naruto clench his fists. It was not fear, nor was it frustration. It was determination. He was burning with the desire to improve and become the best. I've never met someone better than me at football, yet, here, in Blue Lock, I'm not even ranked in the first half of the 300 candidates, he thought. Unknowingly, a feral grin appeared on his face. What you need to gain here is ego. I'll be testing you now to measure that. So, it's time to play tag. You have 136 seconds. Whoever is struck by the ball is it. Whoever is at the moment time runs out will be locked off, Ego said, and a football was dropped in the room through a hole that appeared in the ceiling. Chapter 3, Diamond. The moment the football was released from the ceiling and the lowest-ranking candidate became it, the room descended into chaos as everyone scattered in all directions to dodge his shots. Damn it! Naruto cussed when one of the two twins' shots caught him. However, he didn't panic. Instead of rushing to shoot at someone as fast as possible, he stopped the ball dead. There was still plenty of time for him to tag someone else. There are 2 things I've always been the best at. No matter who he had played against in high school up to this point, he had always been the best player on the pitch when it came to 2 things. His athleticism as well as his passing and shooting accuracy were above the rest. Taking 3 steps back, a sound that was almost like a gunshot was heard when he kicked the ball. Arg, a yell was heard, and the one who got hit collapsed on the floor clutching his hands to his face. Time out, the fallen player cried out. I think he broke my nose. Oi, is this guy for real? A boy with slicked back blonde hair asked. He alternated between staring at the blood streaming through the collapsed boy's hands and at Naruto. The way that Naruto stopped the ball dead and kicked it as if it were a free kick left no doubt in the others' minds that his shot just then was not a fluke. Now this won't do, is what my brother said, the talkative twin said. Bro, are you thinking of what I'm thinking? The quiet twin grunted in response and then the 2 of them started grinning like loons. To everyone's surprise, even Naruto's, the talkative twin touched the ball to become it. He then passed it to his brother. What the hell are they doing? Naruto was confused. Why didn't they just let the dude whose nose I broke loose? Looking up at the timer on the screen, the clock showed there were only about 70 seconds left. With blood pouring out of his broken nose like a stream, the injured boy was in no condition to be an actual challenge in this game of tag anymore. If they let him be, he would just run out of time and lose. But when the quiet twin shot the ball towards him, it finally clicked for him what was going on. What are you targeting me for, bastards? He yelled. There's no way we'd let a thug like you stay on the same team with us in Blue Lock, the talkative twin said and let out a burst of mean laughter as he got to the ball. He kicked it as hard as he could towards Naruto once again. The fuck is their problem? Naruto swore to himself as he had to throw himself and roll on the ground to avoid a particularly tricky shot which bounced off a wall missing him by a hair. Alas, with 2 good strikers continuously shooting at him in such a confined space, it was only a matter of time before he couldn't dodge anymore. Fuck. Eventually, it happened. One of the twins' shots found its mark, and he became it. There were only 20 seconds left. Ha ha. Look at this face, bro. He looks like he wants to kill us. The quiet twin giggled too and pointed with his finger at Naruto, clearly having a laugh at his expense. Nevertheless, there were still 20 seconds left. The twins and the rest of the players didn't let their guards down. They were watching each of Naruto's moves intently. What is he doing? A black-haired boy asked. 10 seconds passed, but Naruto had yet to even move from his spot, let alone shoot. Don't tell me. Is he going to shoot at the very last second? Another asked. Is he really going to take such a gamble? Is he insane? 9. 8. 7. I could shoot for the kid whose nose I broke and be safe, he thought. But my name isn't Uzumaki Naruto if I let any douchebag walk over me. 6. 5. 4. He wasn't sure what exactly was their deal or why they had been targeting him, but they had fucked with the wrong dude. They were going to find out real soon. There were only 3 seconds left. 3 seconds and his dream to become a professional football player would be shattered forever if he did not hit someone with the ball. It was now or never. I thought you were planning something, but it seems, the talkative twin began to say, but, at that very moment, Naruto swung his right leg back and then kicked the ball with the inside of his foot. There was no power behind the kick. It wasn't even a shot, it was a pass, and it was completely off target. That you were just panicking. Ahaha, where did you shoot that? Ha ha ha. But the talkative twin abruptly choked on his laughter when the football that had missed him by more than a meter inexplicably hit him in the back. The trajectory of Naruto's last shot was so unexpected that Jinpachi Ego subconsciously stood up from his seat. He was an experienced man, and he had seen many things over the years, but what just happened left even him surprised. Instead of making use of the great kicking power he had showcased the first time, Uzumaki Naruto did something completely unexpected. Not only did he not kick the ball with the explosive power previously showcased, he even kicked it off target on purpose to miss the twin. The ball hit the wall of the room close to the corner, bounced into the other wall, and from there into the unsuspecting back of Wanama Keisuke. Was that a fluke? It was the first thing that came to Ego's mind. However, looking back on the blonde's behavior, he couldn't dismiss that incredible feat as a mere coincidence. No. He was too composed the entire time. He even waited until the last 3 seconds to finally make the shot. But that accuracy, how did he even calculate the angles for the ball to bounce into 2 walls before hitting that twin's back? The guts to get back at those who targeted him instead of going for the easy prey. The skill and accuracy to pull off such a stunt. The self-confidence it took for him to wait until the very last moment to shoot so they would have no time to strike back regardless of the huge risk of him losing his chance at a football career forever. Involuntarily, Ego found himself grinning. It was a grin so wide that it stretched his mouth from one ear to another. Most people would call such an act reckless or crazy. Taking such a gamble was insane, but that was exactly the kind of striker he was hoping to create in Blue Lock. Uzumaki Naruto. Ego etched that name in his mind. He had just found a precious diamond. Congratulations! You have passed the admission exam for the Blue Lock dorm. There are 11 of you in this room. You 11 will be living together. Working together at times, betraying each other at times. Rivals who wreck each other's dreams. Blue Lock, Team W. As Ego's voice died down, the twin that had been completely quiet up until then got into Naruto's personal space and started yelling. You ruined my brother's dreams, bastard. I'll never forgive you for it. As long as I'm Dash. Aren't you the ones who picked a fight with me first? Fuck, are you getting all angry about it, scum? Naruto said and pushed him away aggressively. The shove was so powerful that the twin fell heavily on his back with a thud. I suggest the two of you to cut it out at this very moment unless you want to be kicked out of Blue Lock as well. Ego's voice rang out just as Naruto was about to pounce on the Wanama twin and kick his teeth in. Wanama Junichi. Your brother was disqualified after he lost fair and square. Those who lost this game of tag don't belong in Blue Lock. They have no talent as a striker. I have already explained that when your brother kicked up a fuss. That's a load of bullshit. If my brother has no talent, then all these useless extras here. The previously quiet twin began to scream. Having already explained only a minute ago why the game of tag was so important and why it had been used as a selection method, Ego did not feel the need to repeat himself once more. Therefore, he gave the other twin an ultimatum. Your brother got cocky and let his guard down. He lost. That is the irrefutable truth. If you cannot accept that, look there, the door is wide open for you too. You can leave at any moment, nobody is holding you here by force. A silence so deep that one could hear a pin drop was instilled in the room. This time addressing all 11 players, not just the Wanama twin, Ego said. All of you would do well to remember this: Blue Lock is not a prison, it's an opportunity. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This has to be heaven, Naruto said as he gorged himself on what had to be the best food he had eaten in years. On the table in front of him, steam was coming out of a golden-colored portion of tonkatsu, Japanese chicken schnitzel. Aside from that, there was also a plate with tonkatsu sauce and another one with cabbage salad. Furthermore, he had even gotten a can of cola. He had never said a more heartfelt itadakimasu before a meal in his entire life. 3 days had already passed since he arrived at Blue Lock. Due to his performance in the fitness training, Naruto's ranking had been re-evaluated. Whether it was endurance training, muscle training, sprinting, or jumping, it became clear from the first day that he was head and shoulders above the rest of his teammates. Truth be told, they were put through the ringer every day. It would not be an exaggeration to call it Spartan training. Many of his roommates were so exhausted after every training session that all they could do was collapse half-dead on their futons. Some of them did go on the pitch to train their ball skills sometimes too, but they usually preferred to sleep. As for Naruto, he was having the best time of his life. He couldn't remember any period in his life where he had been fed that well. Furthermore, he wasn't looking at their daily training sessions as a chore or a drag. He embraced them. Not only was he giving his absolute best during those 2 hours of daily physical training, he was also spending the rest of the day on the pitch practicing his shooting and passing. The incredible feat of accuracy he had displayed during the entrance test had not come out of thin air. It was the result of hundreds upon hundreds of hours of hard work. 20 minutes after finishing his meal, Naruto went back on the pitch. I can't slack off. I have to make the most of this opportunity. He wasn't proud of having a better ranking than the rest of his teammates. No, this is actually bad. After receiving the results of his fitness training, his ranking increased from 257 to 225. Considering that 25 players were eliminated after the game of tag, my actual ranking didn't increase all that much. I'm still in one of the worst brackets out of all the players in Blue Lock. He was worried not only about his apparent lack of significant progress in the rankings but also about the upcoming matches. This team doesn't look promising. I'm the highest ranked among them, but even I'm only ranked 225. What chance do we stand against those teams with players that are ranked in the top 100 or top 50? In spite of his ranking, he was confident that he would pull his weight during the match. However, football is a game that is played with a team in the end. One person could not win the match all by himself. Even as he was thinking about those things, he was not idle. Ball after ball were kicked towards the goal from all sorts of distances and positions relentlessly. Every single one of his shots was strong and accurate. His right foot was like a cannon. Even so, I will do my best. I'll leave everything on the pitch. He wasn't like the rest who had a plan B in case their football careers didn't work out in the end. He didn't have an alternative. He didn't have parents or relatives to support him in his endeavors. Football was all he had, and Blue Lock was his once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. For him, it was a do-or-die kind of scenario. The first selection will involve the 55 of you in Building 5. 5 teams of 11 players, only the top 2 teams will progress to the next stage. The rest will leave Blue Lock. And those who are kicked out will forever be ineligible for the national team. Naruto became tense. While he didn't really care about playing for the national team in particular, being kicked out of Blue Lock meant that his professional football career would be pretty much over before it even really started. However, the top scorers from the 3 losing teams will still advance to the next selection. When he heard Ego say that, Naruto clenched his hands. It took all his self-control not to let out a whooping cry of excitement and pump his fist in the air. Winning all matches is realistically almost impossible with these guys, but becoming the top scorer is possible. A fire was lit in his eyes. For the first time, he was not going to be dragged down by having useless teammates. For the first time since he started playing football, he would be judged based on his individual skills and performance alone instead of being dumped in the same pot as the rest of the losers on his team. Blue Lock truly is the best. He was burning with anticipation to show off his skills during the match. If more than one player has the most goals in a team, we'll go by fair play points, and the player with the least penalty points will progress. Ego said. Your own goals or the team's victory? The fate of a striker is put to the test in this first selection. This is a battle about creating soccer from zero. Your match starts in 2 hours, Team W versus Team X. What formation do you guys suggest? Yusuke Amazora, a tall boy with spiky black hair, asked everyone while they were in the locker room. Before choosing a formation, we have to settle our positions. We are all strikers here. Who is going to defend? Who is going to play as a midfielder? Who is going to be the goalkeeper? Someone asked. That question plunged the whole room into chaos. Nobody wanted to be a defender, to say nothing about being a goalkeeper. How about we settle it with rock, paper, scissors, someone suggested. That's not a bad idea. Sounds fair to me. Yeah, let's do it that way. However, as they split into 3 smaller groups to play the game of rock, paper, scissors, they realized that the blonde-haired boy with strange markings on his face was not budging from his spot. Oi! Come here. We have to decide on our positions. You've got to be joking, Naruto said, leaning against a locker with his arms crossed in front of his chest. You can play your stupid games all you want. I'm going to be the forward. As simple as that. Huh? No, the fuck you won't. Wanama screamed, and several others also started shouting at him, showing their support. Yeah, you think you're special or what? Damn thug, you're not on the streets anymore. If you got into Blue Lock, now you have to follow the rules, another one shouted. Rules? What rules? Did Ego say anything about how we're going to select our positions? The blonde said impassively. That made all of them pause. If Ego said anything, it would be another story. I would comply because our careers are in his hands. But your made-up rules, you can take them and shove them deep up your ass. I don't give a damn. What are you going to do about it? Naruto said and stepped into the middle of the locker room. If you have a problem with it, come to me. I'll take you losers all at once. The rest of the team were all glaring daggers at him and gnashing their teeth. Japanese society ingrained into everyone from a frail age the idea of needing to adhere to rules, to be organized, and to conform to what everyone does. Naruto had no such values. He was an orphan and a street rat. Society did nothing for him. In spite of being a minor, he had had to work hard to put food on his table as well as pay his rent and bills. Everything he was today was only due to his hard work. If anything, society doomed those like him. Casual and veiled discrimination for being a mixed-race child occurred every week. The cops never missed a chance to harass him because of his delinquent-like appearance, mostly attributed to the strange birthmarks marring his face as Japan frowned upon tattoos. With all these factors influencing him while growing up, it was in his nature to be rebellious and self-centered. On top of it all, only a dumbass would play the good guy and help a shitty team like this. In his mind, Team W was doomed to fail. Since Ego left a way for someone to progress to the next stage by themselves, whether Team W won or lost, Naruto didn't care. It was irrelevant to his goal. I have to become the top scorer. Nothing else matters. Despite his provocative words and how angry the rest were at him, nobody dared step forward to give him a piece of their mind. They had all taken note of his beastly athleticism in the gym and on the training ground over the past few days. His rugged appearance and thug-like aggressive attitude only served to intimidate them even more. He was like a wolf among sheep. Nobody said a peep. After a few seconds passed without anyone saying anything, Naruto snorted at them in ridicule and said, "That's what I thought. Losers." That provocation was biting enough that even herbivores like them couldn't just sit and say nothing in return. Just you wait. Wanama exploded in indignation. You won't get even one pass from me, you hear? No, you won't get any passes from anyone. Let's see how you're going to play the game all by yourself. Suit yourself. Hell if I care. Naruto said with a shrug and crossed his arms at his chest again. He leaned back against the locker room and proceeded to ignore them all for the rest of the duration until the start of the match. I ain't here to make friends, and these guys are going to be kicked out in a few days anyway. I didn't come to Blue Lock to play nice. This is my only chance to change my life. Chapter 4 Rival. In the first selection, all fouls will be called by VAR. Building 5-second match will be a half game lasting 45 minutes. Team X versus Team W, time for kickoff. As the robotic voice rang out, Wanama started the game by passing to his teammate, Takeda. Takeda, 1-2 as we've practiced before. Okay. Takeda said, and right as the opposite team forward tried to tackle him, he passed the ball back to Wanama, who sprinted ahead. Facing two midfielders, Wanama passed it back to Takeda and advanced through those two without the ball. Unfortunately, Takeda was a little too slow, and Wanama's pass didn't find its mark. What are you doing, you idiot? Wanama screamed at him, incensed. Chill out, damn, it's only the first minute. Takeda shot back in annoyance. Over the past few days, Team W's players have become somewhat familiar with each other. They knew by now what a short fuse the quiet Wanama twin had. Unfortunately, that loss of possession led to the opposing team's midfielder passing the ball straight to their ace striker. No matter what, stop him. Wanama shouted at the rest of his team when Shibaro received the pass with his chest and broke into a mad sprint towards their goal. Seeing as it was the second match of Building 5, Team W knew ahead of time just how dangerous Shibaro was. They had watched the footage of his previous match. Team X won against Team Z in their first match by 5-1, and all the goals were scored by him. Unfortunately, the defending players were strikers, not true defenders. Barrow slipped through them effortlessly, dribbling past 3 players in a row before scoring a screamer from over 25 meters away from the goal. Holy shit! Naruto said in awe after watching Shibaro's solo goal. The skin on his back and forearms broke into goosebumps. The sprinting speed, the dribbling skills, and the shooting power. For the first time since he started playing football, he was seeing a player that seemed to be just as good as him. His eyes glinted as his fighting spirit started burning. You said you were good at passing, but you fucked up the last time dash. You're the one at fault with that shitty pass, shouted Takeda. If this strategy doesn't work, we're screwed. Wanama screamed back at him. Play as if your life depended on it. If you can't do your job well, just give someone else your forward position. The two of them looked like they were about to come to blows. It was only the whistle of the VAR that reminded them that they were in the middle of a game. Remember, pass and run. 1-2. Keep up with me until we get close to the goal. They aren't real defenders, it shouldn't be hard to get past them. I know, kick it off already, Takeda replied irascible, and Wanama passed the ball to him. What the fuck are you doing? Just as Takeda was about to touch the ball, someone shot past him like a bullet, stealing it from him. It wasn't a player from the opposite team, but one of his own teammates. It was Naruto. If Wanama and Takeda hadn't seen that coming, the opposite team wouldn't have either. They were all caught completely unprepared. That asshole. Fuck is he thinking, running off alone? He's just going to lose the ball. Wanama shouted in anger. However, by the time the opposite team finally registered what was going on, Naruto shot past the strikers that were standing close to the center circle, running straight towards the goal. Coming back to their senses, 2 midfielders from Team X rushed towards him, and one of the strikers that were left behind started running after him too. But right as one of the opposing team's players lunged at him with a slide tackle, a sound akin to a gunshot was heard, and, in the next moment, the ball smashed into the net of their goalpost. You've got to be kidding me, someone said in disbelief. It wasn't only the opposite team that was stunned, Naruto's own teammates were speechless as well. Surrounded by 3 players and being nearly 40 meters away from the goal, nobody had expected him to shoot from that position, from such a distance. Oi, how could you let him score from so far away? The opposing team's players started arguing amongst themselves, all of them directing their ire at the goalkeeper. What the fuck, man, are you blind? How could you not see that coming? TSK. So damn useless. I couldn't even react to it. Did you see what an absolute piss missile that was? What kind of high school kid has that kind of power? The goalkeeper protested. Hell, I'm a striker, not a goalkeeper. If you don't like it, switch places with me. Ignoring the other team's heated argument and not even celebrating his goal, Naruto walked back to his position as a left-wing forward. Team W had adopted a 4-3-3 formation. Who is that number 9? I don't know, man, I've never heard of him. How did someone as good as him not make a name for himself until now in high school? While Team X's players were wondering about Naruto's identity, Team W's players were caught in a dilemma. Despite Naruto's asshole-ish behavior in the locker room before the match, the incredible goal he had just scored shook their determination to isolate him on the pitch. HMPF, lucky shot, Wanama said scornfully, but Takita did not comment on that. Every single one of the players invited to Blue Lock had been deemed by Ego to be one of the best 300 football players among hundreds of thousands of high school boys in Japan. Therefore, he could recognize real skill when he saw it. After conceding a goal, it was Team X's turn to kick off from the center circle. Receiving the ball from his teammate, Barrow rushed straight towards Team W's goal. Is he trying to do what I did? Naruto thought with a grin. Like hell I'm gonna let you pass. Wanama yelled. But should Barrow easily dribbled past him with a chop feint? The change of direction was so abrupt that Wanama's ankles almost snapped as he tried to keep up with him and he fell down on the ground like a sack of potatoes. Stop him even if you have to foul him. Team W's goalkeeper shouted. The center midfielders UCI Amazora and Reito Fuwa rushed at Barrow together, but he kicked the ball with his heel in a rainbow flick and jumped over their legs. When Barrow was about to trap the ball and continue his run towards the goal, while the ball was still in mid-air, a blonde-haired teen appeared in front of him like a ghost and jumped towards it. Even if they stopped this number 10 guy, these jackasses wouldn't pass the ball to me either way, Naruto thought. Since that's the case, I'll get the ball myself. Due to his speed, it was too late for Barrow to stop his momentum, and he crashed into Naruto at full force. The collision was so violent that, in spite of his heavy and muscular physique, Barrow bounced back and fell on his ass, dazed. Naruto felt the air leave his lungs when Barrow slammed into him, but he did not give up and still intercepted the ball with his head. Gritting his teeth, he ignored the pain in the side of his torso and broke into a mad dash towards the opponent's goal. Seeing the blonde win the physical battle against Barrow and then charging at them with the ball like a mad bull, the opposing team's midfielder that was in front of Naruto was too intimidated to get in his way. What are you doing, Morinaga? His teammates screamed at him when they saw him not even attempting to tackle the opponent. Daya Morinaga's mistake allowed Naruto to pass the center circle and advance rapidly into the opposing team's side of the pitch. Seeing him get within 35 meters of the goal, Team X's goalkeeper couldn't keep his cool and started yelling. Stop him. Bomb rush him if you have to. No matter what, don't let him shoot. Two center-backs and the right-wing midfielder charged at Naruto as if they were trying to kill him. Seeing the blonde swinging his right leg back as if he was about to shoot another one of his bombs, the midfielder and one of the defenders threw themselves in front of him with no regard for their stamina or safety, desperate to stop him from scoring again. However, at the very last moment, Naruto smirked. Instead of kicking the ball towards the goal with his entire strength like everyone had expected, he scooped the ball with the tip of his foot and lobbed it over them. The other defender could only watch stupefied how the blonde rushed past him like a speeding train. A second later, the ball was blasted forth like a rocket, straight into the top right corner of the goal. Turning around, Naruto looked over the pitch, searching for Barrow's burly silhouette. Making eye contact with him, a smug smirk appeared on his face as he made a thumbs-down gesture with his hand. It was unlike him to deliberately provoke someone for no reason. He was not sure why he did it either, but the sight of Barrow dribbling past everyone as if they were primary school children awakened something in him. At that moment, nearly becoming the top scorer on his team was not enough to satisfy him because, after scoring 2 goals already, his spot as the top scorer was pretty much guaranteed. With his primary objective achieved, he wanted something more. Scoring goals was not enough. What he wanted was to score more goals than Barrow. For the first time since he started playing football, Naruto acknowledged someone as a rival. As they walked back to their respective teams' sides of the pitch, Shibaro and Uzumaki Naruto stopped in front of each other. "Thug-like bastard, that was an illegal tackle. Do that again, and I'll kill you next time," Baro said. The veins on his neck and temple looked as though they were about to explode from his anger. "I didn't hear the VRA's whistle. I went for the ball, it was perfectly legal." "Looks like it's just a skill issue on your part," Naruto said, grinning, and shrugged. He could see Baro's jaw muscles bulge out from how hard he was clenching his teeth. But Baro unexpectedly regained his composure and said, "Laugh and gloat while you can, but I will show you that I'm the king on this field. That dude isn't human. How is he not tired after all that? Wouldn't be surprised if I heard he was a cyborg. That would explain that monstrous shooting power." While everyone from Team W hit the showers after their match against Team X, Uzumaki Naruto went straight to the training field for more practice. Now, 3 hours later, most of them were in the canteen having lunch, but Naruto still had yet to come back. Those Team X guys were right though. How did he go unnoticed until now? Any amateur clubs would fight to get someone as good as him, a boy with long bangs covering his eyes said. "Beats me," Takeda said. "I'm just glad we have him on our team instead of playing against him." The rest at the table chuckled lightly at his words. "Man, I'm so sick of this food. Homeless people probably eat better than us," another one said. While they were having lunch and socializing with each other, the main object of their conversation arrived in the canteen too. Reeking of sweat and his clothes damp and dirty, it was obvious that he had been on the pitch until then. As Naruto ate his meal at a table alone, his mind went back to the match against Team X that morning. Shibaro. His dribbling was incredible. Way better than mine. Naruto's dribbling was heavily reliant on the opposing players biting on his feints. As it had been the case in the previous match, due to the tremendous threat his shooting possessed, the other team's players were forced to bite on his feints. However, that type of dribbling was restricted by his positioning on the field. "My dribbling style isn't consistent enough. It's too situational. It works for now because I'm not playing against proper defenders, but I bet it won't be enough against professional footballers who specialize in defending." Following that line of thought, for 3 hours after the end of the match against Team X, Naruto remained on the field and practiced the chop feint that he had seen Baro perform repeatedly to annihilate Team W's defense. He had been so hyped about increasing his skills and improving himself that he almost skipped lunch. I wonder if there's anyone special in Team Y. After his win over Shibaro and Team X, the 45-minute match ended with a 4-3 score in Team W's favor, with all goals being scored by him. Naruto's confidence soared. Whereas before he had been stressed out at the thought that his ranking was not even in the upper half of the 300 candidates, upon seeing the level that most of the players in Team W and Team X were at, he regained his composure. Ego must have made a mistake when he assigned me such a low rank, was what Naruto was thinking in the present. And I'm going to keep on scoring goals non-stop until he's forced to admit he was wrong and correct my ranking. Once he finished his lunch, Naruto got up and went to one of the automated counters. After pressing a button, he said, "I want to exchange 3 points for my cell phone." To further motivate the candidates to give their best in scoring goals, Ego created a system of rewards. 1 point could be exchanged for 300 grams of sirloin steak, 3 points for being given back their cell phone, 5 points for a bed, and 10 points for a leave ticket out of Blue Lock for 1 day. A few moments later, an object dropped into the pickup port of the automated counter. "This isn't my phone." The phone in his hands looked nothing like the brick-like Absolute unit that he used to own. It was a sleek model with a wide and long touchscreen. It was a brand new smartphone. If I sold this phone, I could probably pay the rent of my apartment for almost 1 year. He had never owned a smartphone, much less anything as expensive as this. Curiously, he unlocked it and started swiping back and forth. He was acting like a curious monkey. Oh, there are some unread messages too. He knew it wasn't his phone, but curiosity got the best of him. After all, whoever owned that phone was at fault for not having locked it with a password. Tapping on the first of the 3 messages, he began to read curiously. "Hello. This is Busujima Masao, the father of the girl you helped that night. This phone is a small gift for you. I have also paid your rent and utilities in advance for 1 year, so you have nothing left to worry about. You can give it your all and put your entire attention on becoming the best at Blue Lock. For a moment, he was mute with surprise. He needed a few seconds to let the content of that text message sink in. Absent-mindedly, he started reading the next wall of text. I have also taken the liberty to save my contact information on your phone, so if you ever need anything, whether it's financial support or my connections, I will be more than happy to help you. Don't hesitate to ask for help when the moment comes, and don't overthink the reason why I want to help you. You saved my daughter, that is reason enough for me to care about your well-being. P.S. I would love to hear about your progress in Blue Lock every now and then. Don't be a stranger. The emotions he felt at that moment could not be put into words easily. However, he couldn't let Mr. Busujima on read after everything he had done for him. Naruto understood that for someone as wealthy as Mr. Busujima, the price of his apartment's yearly rent was chump change. However, having experienced firsthand how hard it was to earn money, his gratitude to him was not any less. Until then, nobody had given him even 1 yen for free. Hello. I have received the phone. Thank you for your gift and for your help. As for Blue Lock, the food, the gear, the training, the gym, everything is great. We are now in the middle of the first selection phase, a phase in which more than half of the teams will be kicked out of Blue Lock. I had my first match today. My team won with a score of 4-3, I scored all the goals. I will have another match tomorrow. Now, I'm going back to training. Thank you again for paying my rent. I will not forget this debt of gratitude. I wish you and your daughter all the best. After sending that message, Naruto let out a long sigh. It was a sigh of great relief. He had used 3 out of the 4 points that he had earned to get his phone back because he had been worried about his apartment. He did not know for sure how long Blue Lock's program was going to last, so he wanted to make a deal with the landlord to not throw out his things. It was not as if he had left precious things at home, but they were the only things he had. But with that worry taken care of, there was truly nothing else to weigh on his mind anymore. Now, he could fully devote all his efforts to football. The existence of one outstanding player can create a spiral of rivalry. Do you see that, Anri-chan? That is what I wanted to create in Blue Lock, Ego said while showing her the footage of the match between Team W and Team X. Those two are incredible. Are they really high school students? Shui Barrow. A powerful, agile, and very technical player excelling in solo plays. His dribbling and shooting skills are a cut above the rest. More importantly, he has exactly the type of mindset I'm looking for in a striker, Ego explained. His ability is so overwhelming that he made the rest of the team rely on him entirely. He is shaping up to be one of the future top 10 players in Blue Lock. He paused his explanation momentarily to get another big gulp of instant noodles, all the while making loud slurping noises. What about the blonde one? Anri asked, greatly surprised after seeing how Shibaro fell on his but from a collision with him. Uzumaki Naruto. I chose him to be part of Blue Lock on a whim. He comes from the slums of Tokyo. There was barely any information and even less footage about him and his school's football team's plays. He's the biggest surprise among the 300 candidates, Ego said. He must have won the genetic lottery at conception because he is like a beast. Whether it's stamina, jumping power, toughness, sprinting speed, or shooting power, he outperforms everyone on the field. His shooting accuracy is formidable too. But there are still many areas he needs to improve on. The screen changed, and clips from a match between other teams started playing, with Ego giving her a short introduction for the top scorers of each team. Cristiano Ronaldo's chop is way better than Barrow's, Naruto thought as he watched on his smartphone a video with a compilation of the famous striker's numerous instances where he dribbled past defenders using that skill. It was a staple of his dribbling. It's not just the technique, his timing is also perfect. But it makes sense. He's one of the best football players in the world. Before coming to Blue Lock, Naruto had never been able to sit and study professional football players' playstyles because he could not afford to pay for an internet subscription or at least buy a device that could play such videos. His phone had been a relic from nearly 15 years ago. But now he was like a man who finally reached the oasis after nearly dying of thirst in the desert. He spent many hours watching videos about football and trying those moves on the field himself. Leaving his phone under the bench to protect it from any stray balls, he went on the pitch and started practicing the chop feint techniques that he had seen at Barrow and then at Cristiano Ronaldo. "I think my chop technique is good, but I can't say for sure until I try it against someone," he said to himself after a while and stopped. Looking at the time, he realized it was already close to midnight. The match versus Team Y starts in 10 hours. He was brimming with anticipation to get back on the pitch. He could not wait to test his newly acquired dribbling skills against others. Chapter 5: Awakening. We got this in the bag. Those guys lost 8-0 in their first match against Team V. Isn't Team V the highest ranking? They've won all their matches so far by a large margin. It doesn't matter. If we stick to our strategy, we'll crush them just the same. Hearing the rest of his teammates talk confidently like that amongst themselves, Naruto let out a scoff. "If someone didn't know any better, they'd think you were the ones who scored all those goals in the previous match," he said. And just like that, the mood in the locker room immediately became tense. "What? Don't glare at me like that," Naruto said, snickering. "All of you did jack shit in our first match. I didn't receive even one pass from you, I scored everything by myself. My back is hurting from carrying all of you losers through the match." You bastard," Wanama said through gnashed teeth. Ignoring the twin who was glaring at him in anger, Naruto turned his attention towards the rest of his teammates. "You don't have to be my friend. You don't have to like me. All you need to do is pass the ball to me if you care about winning, of course. Like hell we're going to give you any passes. Yeah, fuck that. Let's see how far you're going to go alone." The others immediately shot back at him. "If your pride and bruised feelings are more important than winning the game, well, suit yourself. I'm going to pass to the next selection as the top scorer either way." After saying that, Naruto stopped paying them any attention and spent the rest of the time until the start of the match stretching and warming up for the game. 20 minutes into the first half, the score was still 0-0. God damn it. Naruto swore in frustration as his shot was blocked for the second time that game. Unlike Team X, which he had faced in the previous match, Team Y was focused on defending. "They're marking me at all times. They don't even let me breathe." If it wasn't enough that his own teammates were playing tiki-taka amongst themselves while completely excluding him, even when he finally got possession of the ball, he couldn't do much with it because there were 2 or 3 Team Y players that pounced on him instantly every time. "We've done our homework before the start of the match," the opposite team member who had been hounding him since the start of the match said. "Team W is nothing without you. They have no skills, no tactics, and nobody stands out among them. All we have to do is shut your offense down, and the match is ours." As if to prove his words, despite finally getting within shooting range of the goal for the first time in almost 30 minutes, Wanama's shot on goal was blocked by the goalkeeper, who punched it above the crossbar. Corner kick for Team W, the VR's robotic voice rang. All of Team W's forwards and midfielders, and even 2 of the defenders, crowded inside the goal area, in front of the goalpost. With how the game was going, they reckoned they might never get a chance as big as this one to score. They wanted to make the most of it. Who is he going to pass the ball to? "There isn't anyone particularly tall in my team," Naruto tried to guess where the ball was going to be aimed in order to steal it. "Tobio, Sashi, mark number 9 together with me," the one who had been following Naruto the entire match said, and the 2 tallest players from Team Y sandwiched him between them. "You're really starting to get on my nerves, Bangs," Naruto said, irritated. "Don't hold it against me. We're all doing our best to win here," Ikiniko said nonchalantly. Right as Takeda kicked the ball from the corner, Naruto broke away from their encirclement and rushed at Junichi Wanama. Since there weren't any players that stood out with their height in Team W, Naruto put his bet on the pass going to the quiet twin because everyone seemed to listen to him all the time. "You won't get away. Tobio, the tall gray-haired player from Team Y, shouted as he and his teammate, Sashi, ran after Naruto at the same time. As Wanama, Tobio, Sashi, and Naruto all jumped for the ball at the same time, the Team Y players unknowingly thought at the same time. No way! Wanama didn't even have the energy to be surprised anymore. As much as he hated the thuggish blonde, he had seen his beastly athleticism in the gym with his own eyes. Despite the fact that Tobio and Sashi were both a few centimeters taller than Naruto, the blonde actually jumped half a head higher than them. Unfortunately, the goalkeeper had had his eyes on Naruto the entire time too. As high as Naruto had jumped, he couldn't beat the height the goalie could reach with his hands. Nice job, Ito. Tobio congratulated the goalkeeper in excitement. Go, Okawa. Nico shouted when he saw that the ace striker of his team, who had been waiting outside the box for the chance of a counterattack, received the ball punched by the goalie. But Team W still had two defenders who had not been inside the box during the corner kick, and they were quick to react. Nevertheless, Okawa had been famous for his skills as a striker even before coming to Blue Lock. He had been the highest scoring forward in his prefecture. Quickly nutmegging one of the defenders, he cut past the other in the opposite direction, never stopping his sprint towards the goal. Having dribbled past the last line of defense, he was now one-on-one with the goalkeeper. A talented striker against a novice keeper with no prior training, the result was not hard to predict. Not only did Okawa score, but he also humiliated the keeper with a fantastic lob shot while he was at it. Halftime. Naruto was sitting on a bench with his head resting against the wall and a wet towel on his head. He knew his dribbling might not be good enough against a team with a tight defense, but he had not expected to get shut down completely. Now that everyone has seen my performance against Team X, I'll probably get marked like this by the other teams all the time too. He was frustrated. He was getting blocked too far away from the goal for his shooting feints to be effective, and the chop feint that he had learned after his match against Chibara was not enough by itself for him to dribble past three players. I need something more. Even at the cost of losing the ball, I have to try out something new, something they haven't seen. Since he had scored 4 goals in the previous match, he wasn't concerned with the result of the current match against Team Y. My teammates are trash. Even if I were to sit out for the rest of all the games in this selection, they would still not score more goals than I did. Since he was already qualified to go to the next phase of the selections due to being the top scorer, he decided to shamelessly experiment and learn even during official matches from then on. It was an extremely selfish attitude, but he didn't even consider Team W his team. He had no attachment to them. As far as I'm concerned, I am alone against 21 players. Second half. Afraid of being counterattacked again, like in the first half, Naruto's teammates started playing even more defensively than before. Seeing as they had already scored a goal, Team Y's players were perfectly content with adopting a passive approach and just waiting for the game to end, passing around to stall for time. That boring, eventless style of playing was so stifling that Naruto felt his rage meter top up almost like in a video game. What's the point of playing defensively? Are you all stupid, unable to hold it in anymore? He finally blew up at them. Nothing is going to change if you just keep passing around on your own side of the pitch. This isn't the time to stay passive. You have to attack. What kind of strikers are you? Unfortunately, his shouts fell on deaf ears. The game proceeded in the same manner, with neither team doing anything to change the status quo. Although he was not concerned with whether his team won or lost here at Blue Lock, Naruto couldn't bear that pace or that boring and uneventful game. If all football matches were the same as this one, football would never have become the most popular sport in the world. To him, football was supposed to be fast-paced, filled with action, and capable of generating passion and excitement in both players and spectators. It was not meant to be like this. In his anger, he started pressing the other team all by himself. From a spectator's view, it looked rather sad and pathetic how he was running himself ragged trying to get the ball alone while the opposite team were playing tiki-taka amongst themselves. That dude is off his rocker. Bruh, I almost feel sad for him now. Team Y's players were sniggering at his expense. However, people are not like machines, they aren't perfect. After pressing them non-stop for nearly 15 minutes, Team Y's central midfielder made a mistake. Due to Naruto almost getting to him, intimidated by the blonde's charge, he passed the ball too hard and sloppily, causing the winger to not be able to trap the ball properly. Throw in for Team W, the VAR's voice was heard. But when Uchiha Amazora picked up the ball to throw it in, he was startled by Naruto, who suddenly shouted at him. "This is my ball. I got it all alone, while you useless fucks were chilling with your thumbs up your asses. Pass the ball to me. If you pass it to someone else, I'll break your legs, I swear to God." He had run like a man chased by the devil for over 15 minutes, pressing the opposite team all by himself just to get the ball. Even with his abnormal stamina, he was ready to drop. If, after all that effort, the ball went to someone else, he was ready and willing to beat Amazora up to a pulp. Panting, his face an angry shade of red from both exhaustion and anger, and his eyes looking like he was about to kill someone, he looked so intimidating at that moment that Amazora didn't dare disobey him. "Sheesh, chill, here, take your damned ball." Finally getting possession of the ball, he took 1 second to relish it. A moment later, he broke into a mad dash along the touchline. But Iki Nico had never let his guard down. The moment Naruto got the ball, he was upon him. Apart from Nico, Team Y's left winger and the central midfielder also pounced on Naruto at the same time, caging him in a matter of seconds. "I told you, I did my homework. You won't score any goals under my W dash. Out of my way." Naruto screamed as he cut in, brushing past Nico with such force that the boy stumbled, almost falling on his ass. It was too early to celebrate, though, because the left winger and the center midfielder tackled him right away. At that moment, the blonde pulled off a move that neither his teammates nor the opposite players had seen coming. Right as Team Y's left winger was about to poke the ball with the tip of his foot, Naruto suddenly spun around with the ball. It was a Zidane turn. Not only did he dribble past the winger with the roulette trick, but when he finished turning around, he also nutmegged the out-of-position midfielder by kicking the ball with the inside of his foot. "You've got to be kidding me," the winger said, having a hard time believing what he just saw. Having dribbled past 3 players already, a big hole was left in the side and center of Team Y's defense, and Naruto sprinted with the ball as if his life depended on it. "What are you guys doing? Tackle him," the winger yelled from behind. "Don't let him shoot. Stop him." Nico and the other midfielder also screamed at the same time. Team Y had a lead of only 1 goal. If they conceded a goal now, all their tactics and strategies until then, and all their efforts would become null. However, the corner of the penalty area was already in front of him, the blonde was less than 30 meters away from the goal now. As Naruto swung his right leg back in a motion to shoot, Team Y's fullback threw himself in front of the shot in desperation to stop him. But it was a feint. Now that he was close to the goal, the threat of his shooting gave his feints the maximum effect. "Foul him if you have to. No matter what, don't let him shoot," Team Y's keeper screamed. Suddenly, Naruto felt the wind leave his lungs as he crashed into the ground painfully, and his body rolled over 4 times before finally coming to a stop. What the hell happened? Momentarily, he was so dizzy and disoriented that he couldn't understand what was going on. Foul by Team White, denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Red card to Shinichi Konan. Direct kick for Team W. It was only when he heard the whistle and the robotic voice of the VAR that Naruto finally regained his senses. "Oi, are you okay?" One of his teammates unexpectedly came to help him stand up on his feet. Despite the rocky relationship between him and the rest of his teammates off the pitch, at the end of the day, Naruto had been about to score a goal for them, for the whole team. The others couldn't just sit and spectate quietly after such a terrible foul. "I think I'm fine," he said with a groan. "I'll take the free kick myself." Picking himself up from the ground with difficulty, he felt a sharp, stab-like pain in his right ankle. "That was a nasty foul. Are you really okay?" someone else asked when he saw Naruto grimacing as he stood up. But Naruto didn't answer this time. As he positioned the ball carefully on the ground, his hearing became muffled. Even the players at his side seemed to disappear from his perception. He forgot about the pain in his ankle, he even forgot about his anger at the player who fouled him. Slightly to the right side of the pitch, not far from the penalty arc. A distance of 28 meters from the goal and a wall of 7 players blocking more than 90% of the goalpost in the free kick taker's field of view. However, none of those details were registered in Naruto's mind at that moment. There were only 3 things in his eyes: the ball, team-wise goalkeeper, and a curved crimson-red corridor of light linking the ball to the opposite team's goal. The wall is too wide. There's no direct line towards the goal. How am I supposed to score when I can't even see the goalpost? Normally, it was rare to see such wide free kick walls in official matches because the free kick taker could choose to pass the ball to a teammate instead of shooting, in which case the opposite team would be screwed. However, knowing that Naruto never passed the ball to his teammates and vice versa, Team Y went all out to block his shooting angle with a wide wall. A thought came to his mind. What if I followed that light? The moment he made his decision, he stopped thinking about it. Man, how much more space does he need? Might as well go back to the center line, Junichi Wanama said snarkily when he saw the blonde taking more than 10 steps back from the ball. But Naruto didn't hear him. As he waited for the VAR's whistle to blow, he stopped thinking completely. With adrenaline pumping in his veins, he entered a special state. He was in the zone. When the outside of his left foot impacted the ball, everyone on the field and even Ego, who was watching the match behind the screen, felt a premonition deep down that he was going to score and that his goal was going to be one for the ages. As he kicked the ball with his entire strength, Naruto watched with a mixture of elation and wonder as the spinning clockwise ball made an almost impossible curve in the air, following the crimson-red corridor of light between his and the goalpost. Holy shit! My God, is he for real? This is ridiculous. Oh my God. Even as the rest of the players in Team W jumped at him and piled up on top of him, yelling and squealing in glee and celebrating, Naruto was still out of it, mentally immersed in admiring the shot that he had just taken. It was beautiful, the most beautiful thing he had seen until then in person. He reckoned that even years from now, he would be hard-pressed to find something as beautiful as that. Unbelievable. Anri said, her mouth opening in surprise. My word, what was that goal? Another man also spoke up in disbelief. It feels like I traveled back in time to watch Roberto Carlos' free-kick goal against France. Next to the man who just spoke, a teen girl with long, pencil-straight purple hair was also staring at the screen in amazement. The two of them were Osamu Busujima, the brother of the Minister of Sports, and his daughter, Siko. Using his connections, Mr. Busujima entered the Blue Lock facility for the sake of visiting Naruto at the request of his daughter. As the doting father that he was, he couldn't refuse her anything. Ego Jinpachi himself was also looking at the screen with a loony smile on his face and a seemingly mad look in his eyes. Win or lose, life or death. Every time that line is crossed, a striker is forced to awaken. This is what I wanted to see. Awakening? Siko asked, tilting her head. Awakening is like a jigsaw puzzle with your accumulated thoughts and experiences. You're faced with an extreme situation to get the win, and after much trial and error, after a desperate struggle, that's when the pieces for success all fall into place, and a new ego blossoms, a new weapon is created, Ego explained. But why is he the only one to awaken? Realistically, he should be the least worried player on the field, regardless of the result of the match. Due to him being the top scorer on his team, he will pass to the next selection regardless, won't he? Mr. Busujima asked. That's where the difference between elite strikers and trash comes into play, Ego said, not mincing his words. An elite striker will always strive to improve and surpass their current selves. They will never be pleased with mediocrity. Moreover, there is a stark difference between his hunger and motivation and those of the rest. Most people always have a plan B or a secondary career option if their football career doesn't work out. It's a realistic and sensible approach given how small are the chances for someone to actually become a professional football player. However, it's different for him. Miss Anri, Mr. Busujima, and Siko all got chills on their backs as Ego continued to speak. For him, this is not just a game and becoming a football is not just a career. For him, the pitch is like a battlefield, and the game is akin to a life and death battle. We've seen that in many other athletes before. Those who grew up in disadvantaged environments often outperform their peers because football is their whole world. Pele, Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, Suarez, they all came from a life of poverty and fought on the pitch as if their lives depended on it. And their hard work did not betray them. They became world-class strikers, some of the best football players of all time. Chapter 6, Visit. When Team W's goal celebration was finally over and the VAR whistled for the players to get back to their positions and start the game again, Naruto was stupefied to realize he couldn't stand up at first. Once the adrenaline rush passed, it was as if his body's operating system had been shut down. He felt more exhausted than ever, and his injured ankle was pulsating with pain as well. It took all his willpower to force himself to his feet, but when he finally stood up, Igo's voice was unexpectedly heard from the speakers. Uzumaki Naruto, you're too injured to continue playing. I suggest you sit out the rest of the match. Knowing how stubborn Naruto was, his teammates and Igo alike expected him to argue against his decision, but the blonde actually complied. Okay. It just went to show how spent he really was. A few moments later, two men wearing the blue lockstaff uniform came on the pitch with a stretcher and carried him out, taking him directly to the infirmary to get his right ankle checked out. How is it, doctor? Naruto asked when the doctor came back with the X-ray picture in his hand. An injury was the last thing he wanted at that moment, while he was in the middle of Blue Lock's elimination selection. Nothing serious, don't worry. It's not even a sprain, it's only a bruise. Put some ice on it and keep your foot elevated for today. Avoid straining your ankle in the next 2 days, and you should be as good as new. It would be a good idea to use these crutches until you can walk without any pain. I understand. Thank you. Getting up from the infirmary bed, Naruto bowed in thanks to the doctor, and after getting his crutches, he left. Once he was out of the doctor's sight, he put his weight on the injured leg to test the level of pain. He winced a bit at the feeling. Shit. It didn't hurt as much as it did right after he was fouled, but he couldn't see himself playing to even half of his capability if he had to run and shoot while bearing that kind of pain. He dearly hoped he recovered in time for the next game. You should listen to the doctor and avoid putting weight on that foot, a voice was heard from behind, and Naruto was surprised when he turned and saw who it was. Mr. Busujima? How are you here? What can I say? I love football. Siko told me she wanted to see you dash. Oh, Tucson. And that was the perfect excuse I needed to make a visit to Blue Lock. The middle-aged man's jovial mood made quite a contrast with the embarrassed look on his daughter's face. By the way, that goal that you just scored was absolutely phenomenal. Mr. Busujima suddenly said, gushing with excitement. Reminds me of Roberto Carlos' goal against France back in the late 90s. Gah! I can't wait to show the footage to my friends. If his hands weren't holding onto his crutches, Naruto would have rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment at seeing how a man more than twice his age was fanboying over him. Thank you, was the only thing he could think of saying. Also, I want to thank you for dash. I know what you want to say, but it's not worth mentioning. It's the least I could do for you since you agreed to keep my daughter's secret. Besides, you've won me over as a fan. As long as you work hard with your talent, I wouldn't be surprised to see you playing for a first-rate team 2 years from now. As if he was only now realizing that he was showing more excitement and emotion publicly than was proper for someone of his age and social standing, Mr. Busujima fake coughed into his fist and cleared his throat. Ahem, if you weren't injured, I would have asked you to give Siko a tour of the facility, but, looking at the crutches in your hands, it seems like that foul hurt you more than I expected. It's not that bad, Naruto said. It's only a bruise. The doctor said I should be fine in a day or two. Mr. Busujima smiled at his words, but then his smile turned into a teasing grin as he looked at his daughter. Hear that, Siko-chan? I think Igo-san is waiting for you in the conference room. You better hurry up. Siko shooed him away with a straight face. I'll come looking for you again in half an hour or so, Mr. Busujima said with a chuckle. Have fun. Now that the jovial and charismatic middle-aged man left, an awkward silence was instilled between the two teens as they looked at each other. Although barely 2 weeks passed since she last saw him, Naruto had gone through quite a few changes. Instead of that shabby orange hoodie and washed jeans he used to wear before, the blue lock uniform looked much better on him. The skin-tight fabric also showed that his body had filled out significantly with the nutrition and physical training he underwent at this facility. As for Naruto, why did she want to see me? He couldn't quite understand why someone as pretty as her would want to do anything with someone like him. Her long, lustrous purple hair was tied in a high ponytail, revealing her pale and slender neck, and somehow, the casual blue jeans and white blouse she was wearing only made her beauty stand out more. Hey. They both started speaking at the same time, only for them to stop and look at each other awkwardly again. Would you like to see the gym first? He said. Ah, yes, sure. As he slowly walked with his crutches towards the gym, Seiko said. You don't have to listen to my father if your ankle hurts too much. We could sit somewhere and chat. I'm okay, it's not that bad, he assured her. Your father said you wanted to see me? In spite of his lack of experience with girls, even he could tell that that wasn't the best thing to bring up considering her embarrassment previously. To his relief, Seiko didn't make it awkward. I was curious, she said, tucking behind her ear one of the bangs not tied in the ponytail. Have you trained in martial arts before? I haven't. Why do you ask? That night, you caught my attack so easily. And you even disarmed me. It was just an umbrella, he said, chuckling. But that umbrella was more than enough to beat up those drunkards, she muttered as she looked to the side, flushing slightly because of his laughter. I've gotten into some scuffles a few times, but no, I didn't get any proper training. I didn't really have time or money for that before. At that moment, they happened to reach the gym too. It's very well equipped, she said as she looked at the large variety of machines, weights, and bars in the gym. Do you work out for Kendo too? He asked. I do. Although Kendo is more about endurance, precision, and speed, strength is also very important for explosive movements. Strength improves speed too. I have very strong legs and core. I can see that. Thank you, Seiko said, inwardly both surprised and embarrassed at how blunt he was about complimenting her body. A moment later, however, if the way his face started getting redder was anything to go by, it appeared that he realized what he just said too. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. She started giggling at how he was fumbling with his words. No need to apologize, she said with a grin. It's good to know that you love my legs though. Let's go to the cafeteria next. She actually started laughing out loud at that. Smooth change of subject, she said, still giggling. Oh, shut it, he grumbled good-naturedly. Half an hour later, the two teens arrived on the empty field and took a seat on one of the benches at the side of the field. Sorry if I stink, he said when she sat down next to him. I was in the middle of a match and then went straight to the infirmary. I didn't have time to shower or get changed. He wasn't one to care about what others thought about him in general, but Seiko was so beautiful that it was making him feel super self-conscious. You're a lot more polite than the impression you gave off when we first met. Now you're the one being rude, he joked lightly. But seriously, what made you come to Blue Lock? Sneaking a glance at him from the corner of her eye, she said. Honestly, I was just curious. Do you know how rare it is for guys and girls our age to not know who I am? At his poignant silence, she chuckled. Okay, I admit, it sounded arrogant coming from me. But that wasn't my intention. Let me show you, she said, taking out her phone. You have the same phone as the one that your father gifted me, he said in surprise. Dad doesn't care about smartphones all that much. I'm the one who chose the model for you. It's the best Samsung that came out this year. Oh, thank you. More importantly, look, here, she said, and a soft vanilla scent wafted from her hair as she leaned in closer to show him her phone. It was her social media profile. His eyes widened at her number of followers. Holy fuck! 2 million followers? He was so taken aback that his real self unconsciously slipped out. She grinned in satisfaction at this reaction. You must be earning a fortune just from ads and promoting stuff. You got all those followers just from Kendo? Some from kendo. Some from my part-time modeling job. Some follow me simply because of my father. You might not know, but he's a very famous kendoka. He's won the Japan Kendo Championships 4 times. He's one of the best to ever do it. He's the one who trains me. My achievements in kendo are all thanks to him. So you're like a celebrity. More like I'm internet famous. But do you see what I mean? That's why my father and I were so surprised when you said you didn't know who we were. It's super rare to see young people who live under a rock in this day and age. It's like encountering a legendary Pokemon in the wild. They both laughed. How about you make an account too? You're going to need it sooner or later anyway. With how good you are, I'm sure becoming famous is only a matter of time for you. It'll be a good way to interact with your fans. You can earn lots of money from that. And we could also keep in touch more easily that way, she added at the end as an afterthought. I could do that, he said, seemingly oblivious to her intentions. But I don't know how much time I'll have to stay on social media while I'm here at Blue Lock. Looking at her, he said in a very serious voice. I can't screw this up. This is my shot, my once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make it big. There are many talented guys here at Blue Lock, according to Ego-san. I'm not even in the upper half of the rankings. I don't know how accurate his ranking is, but I need to give it my all. I will become a professional football player no matter what. Ah, I understand. But I guess it wouldn't hurt to use it for a few minutes in the evening before going to sleep, he added when he heard how dejected she sounded. It was almost dangerous how much persuasive power a beautiful girl could have over a boy who was not used to being in the company of one. Brilliant, she said, visibly perking up at his quick change of heart. I'll make sure to boost you. And if Dad can get the footage of the goal you just scored today, you'll get thousands of followers in no time. There's no need for that. The only reason I'm even going to make an account is because of Dash. This time around, he caught himself before he could blurt out an embarrassing line again. Because of? Don't leave me hanging, she said with a grin, knowing full well what he was just about to say. She pounced on the opportunity to poke a bit of fun at him. Fortunately for him, he was saved from answering that question as Seiko's phone started ringing. It was her father. It was time for them to leave. He had been so absorbed by Seiko's company that Naruto had completely forgotten about the fact that the football match between Team W and Team Y was still ongoing when he was taken to the infirmary. It was only after having a shower and returning to the dorms that he was reminded of it. Noticing the downcast and quiet mood in the common bedroom, he could already guess what the result must have been. Hey, dude. What happened to the match? We lost. How could we have one with only 10 players on the pitch? They scored one more goal after you left, Takeda said with a shrug and let out a long sigh. What's with the crutches? UCI Amazora asked. Was the foul that bad? Man, please don't tell me you're going to sit out the next match too. If we lose again, we'll be disqualified. Fuwa said pleadingly. It's not that bad, it's only a bruise, but the doctor said if I don't put my weight on it, I should recover enough to play in 2 or 3 days. When is our next match? We're up against Team Z next, 3 days from now. 2 days later, on the other side of Building 5, half of Team Z's members were watching the footage with great attention. I thought Barrow was incredible, but what the hell is with this guy? Isagi Yoichi muttered in disbelief after he watched for the 5th time how the number 9 player from Team W scored a goal from nearly 40 meters away. We're up against a damn monster next, Kyuan said, a nervous look on his face. Don't lose heart, Namusen. If Team Y could beat them, we can too. The monk isn't wrong for once. We'll follow their strategy. All we have to do is shut down number 9's offense, and they're done. He isn't getting past me. I'm going to mark him for the entire duration of the game. Using the remote control, Kyuan changed the scene to the Team W vs Team Y match where Uzumaki Naruto cut past Iki Nico, dribbled past Team Y's winger with a Zidane turn and nutmegged the midfielder, all the while never losing his pace. You're saying that you, alone, will be enough to stop him? Kyuan asked. Raichi clicked his tongue. but even with how confident he was in his abilities, he couldn't guarantee it. I agree with Q1. We can't approach this match carelessly. We need a proper strategy, Kunigami also said. I just finished my classes. I'm going straight to a photo shoot now. Another modeling gig? What's the theme this time? It's for the young adult autumn collection at a shopping mall in Tokyo. By the way, would you like to come see me during one of my photo shoots? I'd rather come to see you during your kendo practice. Seiko's joyful laughter brought a smile to his face too. Smooth, very smooth. You're getting better at this. But I'm serious, it would be so cool if you could come. This time, Naruto hesitated before giving her an answer. I would, if I could. But nobody can leave Blue Lock until the selection is over. Whoa, it's like you're in prison over there. To quote Ego-san, Blue Lock is not a prison, it's an opportunity. Nobody is keeping us here by force. You seem to respect him a lot. You've only been saying good things about him. I do. All other football clubs overlooked me up until now, in my last year of high school. But Ego-san gave me a chance despite the fact that I was from the slums. Speaking of, how is your ankle? Has it healed? It's not at 100%, but it's better. I was just about to go on the pitch for some light training when you called me. At first, he had been reluctant to make a social media account in order to keep in touch with Seiko when she made that suggestion. However, since he was not allowed to do any physical effort until his ankle recovered and since there were no other forms of entertainment at Blue Lock, he ended up creating a social media account, and he found himself spending most of the past 2 days chatting with her via text messages. Now, they were even speaking on the phone. He wasn't exactly sure what made someone like Seiko take an interest in him, but he was enjoying the time he spent with her more than he ever thought possible. Ah, why didn't you say so from the start? I wouldn't want to keep you away from training. It's okay, Naruto said, smiling. But I have to go now. Have fun at your photo shoot. Thanks. I'm going to send you some photos too when I get them from the photographer if you want to. He smiled as he recognized the teasing tone in her voice. You'll never hear me say no to that. Ha ha ha. He wasn't the only one smiling widely, Seiko's smile was just as large on the other side of the phone call. Alright, I won't keep you anymore. Good luck with your training. Don't push yourself too hard. I'll be careful, thanks. Talk to you later tonight? Definitely, he said, surprising himself with his prompt answer too. One thing before I go. There is a chance for me to come to see you while I'm still at Blue Lock. But I'm telling you beforehand that it's very difficult, so don't get your hopes up. Oh? I'm intrigued. There's a reward system for scoring goals. If I scored 10 goals, I could exchange those points for a day outside. Oof. That's really tough. I know, right? If there's a will, there is a way. Do your best. I thought you said not to push myself too hard. You know what I mean. Ha ha. Alright, talk to you later. Texts or voice call? Or maybe a video call? Video call? Ugh. What? Are you embarrassed? A little, he admitted. I've never talked to a girl like this before. Now you're making me embarrassed. Geez. I've never talked to a boy like that either, but you don't hear me saying it. You just did it now. In spite of how they said their goodbyes 2 times already, it was as if they couldn't put the phone down. In the end, it took the 2 teens another 15 minutes to end their call. When Naruto finally went on the pitch to train, he was still smiling at the thought of Seiko. But as his foot touched the ball, all the distracting thoughts disappeared from his mind. Instead, his mind went to what Ego told Team W the previous day. Finding your weapon is the first requirement of being a striker. The next step is to polish your weapon and improve it. Make it stand out. Let's take the world-famous Argentinian striker, Lionel Messi, as an example. His weapon is his unique and graceful speedy dribbling. and how fast he swings his leg on his left-footed shot. In those aspects, he's the most prominent player on the planet. But merely imitating Messi won't make your weapon shine because each and every one of you has a different weapon. Thinking of those words, Naruto told himself, I've always known what my weapons were, my shooting and my athleticism. I made full use of my athleticism in the last match, he thought as he recalled how he had pressed the opposing team all by himself for nearly 15 minutes, running himself ragged in order to get the ball. And my shooting that free kick was fucking amazing. He had rewatched his own free kick more than a dozen times. He was still having a hard time believing it was he who had scored such an amazing goal. Ego's words once again came to his mind. The world's best striker must be able to reproduce their goals. The more dramatic a goal is, the more impressive it is. But tons of players can score those one-off goals, those one-hit wonders. Why can't they reproduce their goals? It's because those goals were the products of luck. That's why, in the present, he was continuously shooting towards the goal from a similar position, trying to replicate the free kick goal he had scored against Team Y. How do I take such a shot consistently? He knew how to add spin to the ball, but, unfortunately, more often than not, the ball went off target or got stopped by the dummies serving as the wall. He was having a hard time finding the perfect balance between power and spinning force. He wasn't great at mental measurements and calculations, so the best he could do was repeatedly kick the ball and persevere through trial and error until his body got the feeling of it. So far, his success rate has been less than 10%. Nonetheless, he wasn't discouraged. After getting that flash of inspiration during the match against Team Y, he was sure it was only a matter of time until he was able to replicate that shot consistently. He had full confidence in his talent and his capacity for hard work. Deeply immersed in his training, Naruto lost track of time. It was late in the evening, but he had yet to come back to the dorms. After getting a quick dinner, he went back on the pitch, practicing his free kicks. But while he was still on the pitch, a knock was heard on the door of Team W's dormitory. Why would we go along with such a scummy tactic? Takeda said when he heard the proposal coming from Team Z's trader. Yeah, you lost against Team X miserably, but we beat those guys. Realistically, your team won't stand a chance against us, Wanama also said. You beat those guys? Or was it that number 9? Kyuan said snidely. At the mention of Naruto, the twins' face darkened. Look, Team W has improved a lot. Frankly speaking, I can't tell who will win between our teams tomorrow. But think about it, if you lose this match, all of you will be disqualified because, let's face it, there's no way you will beat Team V. Your only way to qualify is by beating us. If you take on my offer, all of you will pass, and I will pass too as the top scorer. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's a win-win scenario for all of us, Kyuan said. What about Uzumaki? Amazora asked. Will he agree to this? The way I see it, he gestured towards Kyuan, might not be able to score even if all of us just let him do it. You saw Uzumaki's pressing in our last match, that dude is crazy. For real, if that foul hadn't left him with an injury, I would have been firmly convinced he's a cyborg. Yeah, he's stubborn and has the stamina to run for days. Let's just not tell him about it, Wanama said eventually. That thug is too dumb to work together with us on a scheme like this anyway. We'll figure out a way to give you the ball while he's too far from you to intervene. Although the others didn't verbally agree with his words, their silence was an answer too. They decided to keep Naruto in the dark about their plans. Chapter 7 Red Card. Team Z vs Team W, kick-off. Seeing as Team W got the ball after the coin toss, Junichi Wanama and Kai Takeda went to the center circle, as usual. After more than a week at Blue Lock, Wanama and Takeda have become accustomed to each other's pace, and their 1-2 passes were more fluid and on point than before. To further prove that point, the two of them quickly rushed past Team Z's long-haired center forward and even left the athletic orange-haired midfielder that tried to tackle them in the dust. I won't let you pass, a very tall and lanky Team Z player said as he made a seemingly impossible lunge and intercepted Wanama's pass. Nice one, Gagamaru. Counter-attack. Noticing that his team's center forward was rather deep into the opposite team's side of the field, Gagamaru kicked a very long cross. Two Team W defenders jumped for the ball, but it was Team Z's forward that won the aerial battle, receiving the ball with his chest. The very moment that he landed, while the ball was still in midair, he struck it with his entire strength. Team W's keeper seemed to be stunned, as he had not even reacted to the shot. Kuan. Oh my god, what was that shot? Their keeper couldn't even react. Awesome. While Team Z's members were celebrating their goal, on the other side of the field, Team W's members were arguing amongst themselves. What's with that dude? He could have definitely saved that one, Naruto thought while looking at the goalkeeper. Kuan's shot had not been particularly powerful or tricky. That ball had been shot on the center, and it didn't have that much strength behind it, not enough to leave the keeper unable to react. Nonetheless, in the end, he shrugged his shoulders and stopped thinking about it. He had resigned himself to the idea that his team would not pass this selection. But as Team W kicked off again and Wanama and Takeda tried their selfish tiki-taka passing again, Naruto furrowed his brows. I thought they'd try to change their game after the last match. After scoring that brilliant goal against Team Y and seeing his teammates all piling up on him and congratulating him for the goal, Naruto thought that they would start passing the ball to him from then on. The mood between him and the rest of the team had become noticeably better than before in the dorms as well. I guess I was wrong. Oh well. No matter. I'll just do what I've done until now. At that moment, Takeda and Wanama's 1-2 failed again as a plain-looking defender from Team Z stopped Wanama with a slide tackle. Bakira, it's yours. Go as far as you can with it. Thanks, Iseijai. But, just as he received the ball, Naruto tackled him. Whoa, the scary number 9. Bakira said, but, in spite of his words, he didn't look intimidated in the least. As Bakira feinted with his shoulder and stepped with his right foot as if he was going to run to the right, Naruto was completely fooled when Bakira actually went to the left, cutting inside. Off balance and left behind, Bakira was rather surprised when, with a burst of tremendous speed, Naruto still caught up to him and tried to tackle him again. As Bakira nudged the ball to the left, Naruto extended his foot to steal it, but Bakira suddenly changed its course at the last moment, nutmegging him with a masterful elastico. Holy shit, this guy's dribbling. Bakira's dribbling was so good, Naruto couldn't even get mad at how the shorter boy made a fool of him. He was just amazed. While he wasn't a defender himself, he was still relatively good at tackling. It was the first time someone had finessed him like that. As Bakira passed a long ball to Kuan again, Naruto couldn't help coming to him and patting him on the shoulder. Dude, your dribbling is fucking amazing. Ah, thank you. Bakira said, grinning happily at the praise. But while they were talking, Kuan once again won the aerial duel against Team W's defenders and received Bakira's pass perfectly, scoring a rather impressive goal with the head. These guys are so useless. Naruto said with a sigh. But what's with that number 2 on your team? I've watched your previous matches, I didn't think he was anything special. I don't know, but it looks like Kuan is on fire today, Bakira said before leaving Naruto behind and running off to congratulate his teammate. It was only 20 minutes into the first half, and the score was already 2-0 for Team Z. Although Naruto wasn't overly concerned with the result of the match, the opponents having such a big lead didn't sit well with him either when he hadn't managed to do anything worth mentioning until then. I've got to score at least one goal. I just need to get the ball. As Wanama and Takeda kicked off from the center circle again, Naruto started running after them, keeping a distance of only 3 or 4 meters between him and them. They're going to lose the ball again soon. He didn't know if it was because Wanama and Takeda were completely useless or because Team Z's defense was better than he had thought, but it looked like those two couldn't go past more than 2 or 3 players with their 1-2. And, just as he had expected, those two lost possession again, this time to Team Z's left fullback, Raichi, who left his position for the sake of a surprise slide tackle from the side. Hey! VAR! Foul! That's clearly a foul. Wanama screamed in anger after he got swiped off his feet roughly, barrel rolling 3 times on the ground before coming to a stop. The VAR didn't blow the whistle, idiot, Raichi said, laughing spitefully. But just as he swung his foot back to shoot a long ball, Naruto seemed to appear in front of him out of thin air and snatched the ball from his feet. Motherfucker! Raichi screamed as he started running after him. But Naruto was too fast, he couldn't close in the distance fast enough. In desperation, he tried grabbing him by his shirt, but when Naruto increased his speed even more, Raichi ended up stumbling and fell down. Since Raichi had left his position earlier for the sake of tackling Wanama, a hole was left in Team Z's left flank, and Naruto sprinted straight towards the corner of the penalty box, parallel to the touchline. Chidori! Don't let him shoot! Raichi yelled, and the pink-haired center back from Team Z started running towards Naruto diagonally to intercept him. Seeing Naruto swing his right foot back as if he were about to shoot, Chidori threw himself in front of him with a sliding tackle. But it had been a feint. Instead of shooting, Naruto cut inside with a Ronaldo chop. Oh, no! Chidori groaned when he saw that he had been fooled. Naruto was inside the penalty arc now, only 16 meters away from the goal. His left foot smashed the ball like a rocket. There was no suspense. Everyone on the pitch, whether it was Team Z or Team W, knew what the outcome was going to be. But Team Z's goalkeeper was unexpectedly able to react to that absolute piss missile and guessed the trajectory of the shot correctly as he jumped towards it. To Naruto's brief surprise, the goalie even managed to reach the ball that he had shot towards the upper left corner with the tip of his finger. However, the power behind the ball was too much. Although the keeper's finger brushed the ball, it wasn't enough to divert its trajectory. The ball smashed into the net, and the VAR's whistle rang, signaling the change of the score. Ah, man, you almost had it. Seijai tried to console the goalkeeper in encouragement. Sorry, his feint fooled me completely, Chidori apologized. Don't sweat it. We're still in the lead. We have this. We can do this. Igagori said. Ugh, guys, I think I broke something. When the goalkeeper said those words, Igagori looked as if someone had just poured a bucket of cold water on his head. Are you sure it's broken? Maybe it's just a little banged up, Raichi asked. Help me take the glove out, the goalie said, and Seijai came to help him. A pit appeared in everyone's stomach as they saw how hard he was wincing and how his face started sweating visibly while Seijai pulled his glove out. Oh, shit. Damn. Oh God. Some of them even turned their heads away. The goalkeeper's index finger was bent backwards and it was already starting to swell. That looked like one very nasty sprain. Half time. These guys are so bad it's hilarious. What did Ego-san see in them when he invited them to Blue Lock? Especially the defenders. If I didn't know any better, I'd think they're letting Team Z score on purpose. After the injured goalkeeper was carried off the pitch to the infirmary, Team Z was left with only 10 players on the pitch. But even with a numerical disadvantage, Team Z managed to score yet another goal, thanks to Kyuan once again. Naruto scored one more goal from a corner kick, but there was only so much he could do by himself. At this rate, his team was going to lose again. But merely clicked his tongue and kept silent. He had long since given up trying to talk any sense into them. Taking his seat on a bench, he thought about the goals he had scored until then. After exchanging 3 points for my cell phone, I had 1 left. Then I scored a goal against Team Y from the free kick and 2 goals against Team Z. So I have a total of 4 points now. I'd need 6 more if I wanted to go out and meet Seiko, but there's just 1 match left, and it's against the toughest team in our bracket. He let out a sigh. Even with how high his self-confidence was, he knew it was unlikely for him to score that many goals in such a short time. But if these guys passed me that ball too, it wouldn't be impossible. Second half. Seeing as Team W was the first to kick off in the first half, it was now Team Z's turn to start from the center circle. As Kyuan got to the ball and was about to kick off, Junichi Wanama suddenly said, "You've had your fun in the first half. Now it's our turn. Let's drop this charade." "I guess it's only fair I keep my end of the bargain," Kyuan said with a chuckle, and, to his teammates' shock, he passed the ball to the opposite team, to Takeda. It wasn't only Team Z that was stunned, Naruto himself was caught completely off guard too. What the hell was that, Q-on? Fuck is wrong with you, man, why would you pass it to them? But while Naruto and everyone else in Team Z were in a state of confusion, Wanama, Takeda, and Amazora took full advantage of Team Z's flustered state. 1 minute later, for the first time since coming to Blue Lock, Team W scored a goal that wasn't Naruto's. What's the meaning of this, Q-on? Are you fucking kidding me? Raichi screamed. Thoroughly enjoying the chaos they had created, Wanama started purposely pouring fuel on the fire to instigate them. Your tactics, weapons, and weaknesses. He told us literally everything. He sneaked out during his team meeting last night to propose this plan. He betrayed you all. I don't know, man, personally, I wouldn't take such a level of disrespect. Wanama's provocation didn't miss seeing as Raichi suddenly grabbed Q-on by the neck and cocked back his fist, about to punch his head off. What the hell were you thinking? You piece of shit, I'll kill you. It was only the VR's deafening whistle that prevented Rasihi from starting to beat the crap out of Q-on. Yellow card to Raichi Jingo. Return to your half immediately and resume the game. How can I? I can't play under these conditions. Raichi screamed back at the VR. Why would you do something like this, Q-on? Igaguri asked in disbelief. What's the point of trying to lose on purpose? Are you stupid? As Raichi finally let go of him, Q-on grabbed the ball and went alone to the center circle to kick off again. Putting the ball down, he answered Igaguri. You're the dumb ones. Only you guys will be going home if we lose. I will survive here alone. It was then that Naruto finally understood why Q-on would do something as outrageous as this. So the defenders and the keeper weren't that garbage. They let Q-on score on purpose. Looking back at Team Z's previous matches, Naruto knew that they had only scored 3 times, with every goal being scored by a different player. But now that Q-on scored 3 goals, he became the top scorer. Whether Team Z lost or won, Q-on was going to qualify for the next selection either way. Worthless piece of trash. He felt his blood start to boil the more he thought about it. From here on out, we're playing 12 against 9, Q-on said, passing the ball to Wanama again. And with that, Wanama, Takeda, Amazora, and Q-on started passing the ball among themselves as they advanced into Team Z's half of the field. With Gagamaru replacing the previous goalkeeper who had sprained his finger and with Team Z having only 9 players on the field, Team W and Q-on breached their defense like a hot knife through butter. Desperate to stop their advance, Isagi had no other choice but to commit an intentional foul. Yellow card to Isagi Yoichi. Free kick for Team W. Uzumaki. Oi, let Uzumaki take it. Yeah, let that guy have it. His power and precision are unreal. Although Naruto wasn't the one who earned that free kick, Takeda was the one who had been fouled. All his teammates agreed unanimously for Naruto to take the shot. Even Junichi Wanama, Naruto's biggest antagonist, didn't object to it because the blonde had proved his otherworldly shooting skill in every match until then. He was like a scoring machine. The free kick goal that he had scored against Team Y in particular had left a deep impression on everyone. It was the first time his teammates were trying to include him in their game. A distance of 18 meters, just outside the penalty box, halfway between the penalty arc and the left corner of the box. The perfect distance. It was just far enough for the ball to have time to curve while also not being far enough for the goalkeeper to have time to calculate the trajectory of the shot. Considering the goalkeeper couldn't even be considered an amateur, Naruto was 100% sure he was going to score. Taking 3 steps back, his form looked as if he had kicked the ball for a pass instead of shooting. The ball curved softly above the wall of players and dipped at the very last moment, hitting the underside of the crossbar before slamming into the net. The score was 4-3 for Team W now. As Team Z's players fell into despair, Team W's players started celebrating in excitement. All of them, except for Naruto. Objectively, he should have been happy. He had just scored a hat trick, and it looked like he could still score 1 or 2 more goals until the end of the match. After all, Team W had 3 more players than Team Z on the field. Ego-san, are you really okay with what's going on right now? Naruto's sudden shout towards the large screens hanging on the walls of the indoor pitch abruptly cut off Team W's boisterous celebrations. How can a player switch teams in the middle of the game and start playing against his teammates? If it was a real match, the coach would kick him off the pitch in an instant, and he'd probably get fired from the club right away. Nobody would want a backstabbing piece of shit on their team after that either. His shouts momentarily stopped the game. But, strangely enough, Ego didn't give him an answer. Yo, man, what the fuck? What does it matter to you? Yeah, mate, who cares? We're winning. It's good for us. If we beat them, we're going to the next selection even if we lose to Team V because we have the most goals. All players return to your positions and start the game. This is the last warning, the VR's robotic voice rang. We came to Blue Lock to learn how to play football. What kind of football is this? Naruto shouted at the screen again. Is that what you're trying to teach here? To act like backstabbing trash? This isn't football, it's a circus. He was so incensed that he wasn't thinking clearly anymore. In his anger, the filter on his mouth disappeared completely. Man, you're so harsh on me. I'm only doing this to survive. It may be selfish and scummy, but that's what Blue Lock is all about, isn't it? Kyuan said with a smile as he closed the distance between himself and Naruto and tried to put a hand on his shoulder. Had Kyuan known anything about Naruto's upbringing in the slums, trying to put his hand on his shoulder at that moment was the last thing he would have dared to do. Not only that you've sold out your teammates, but you're even playing against them on the pitch. You're worse than trash. Neither Kyuan nor Wanama, who was right next to them, were able to react as Naruto's punch smashed into Kyuan's temple. Kunigami from Team Z and Wanama and Amazora from Team W quickly jumped in to prevent Naruto from following up with more punches, but the blonde had not even attempted to continue his assault. A split second after punching Kyuan, the haze of anger clouding his mind until then disappeared like a miracle. Shit. What have I done? Uzumaki Naruto, red card. 1 minute of timeout for the medical staff to remove the unconscious player from the field. He had not meant to lose his cool like that, but seeing people betraying their friends hit too close to home. Kyuan's smug and unrepentant attitude was like pouring oil on the fire. Holy shit, this hoodlum. My God, I can't believe it. This street rat, I swear to God. We had it in the bag. Why did he have to act up? But while his teammates were berating him and throwing insults his way, the reactions of Team Z's members were completely different. He knocked him out cold. Namusen. Ha ha ha. Serves that bitch right. Number 9, if we ever meet each other outside of Blue Lock, I'll buy you a beer. Raichi said, laughing gleefully. He had wanted to beat the shit out of Kyuan himself too, but he couldn't afford getting a red card for it. As he left the pitch, Naruto stopped for one moment to tell Team Z. I didn't know about my team's dealings with that scum. I was here, on the pitch, training until late last night, so I didn't see them talking. If I had known about it, I wouldn't have let something like this go on for as long as it did. 10 minutes later, seated on a bench in the locker room with his elbows on his knees and his face in his hands, Naruto thought. I shouldn't have punched him. Fuck me and my temper. Fuck. Getting a red card was the least of his concerns. That was not what he was worried about. What if I get kicked out of Blue Lock because of this? While he was scratching his hair hard in anxiety, Ego's face appeared on the screen installed in the locker room. Looking at your state, at least it seems that you understand the gravity of your actions. His head shot up when he heard Ego's voice coming from the screen. I don't know what came over me. I don't want to hear your excuses. That's not why I started this conversation with you. I'm sorry, Naruto said nonetheless, hanging his head down. I will start with the good things that I have to say about you. You're one of the most talented strikers I've invited to Blue Lock. Your exceptional shooting and your athleticism are formidable weapons, and you've learned the formula for scoring goals. You have even improved your dribbling lately, understanding the need to diversify your arsenal. But there is more to football than being a skilled player. Unlike the time when he rebuked the Wanama twin that had been expelled during the game of tag, Ego wasn't shouting or speaking with malice in his voice while talking to Naruto. The tone of his voice sounded more like that of a mentor, like someone who was trying to teach him an important lesson. Being a skilled striker is definitely important, but your emotional intelligence and your behavior on the pitch are vital as well. I understand that you're an orphan from the slums. That you've only had yourself to rely on until now and that you are used to a rough lifestyle. But that chapter of your life ended the moment you came to Blue Lock. Even if you were as skilled as Noel Noah, it would amount to nothing if you got a red card 20 minutes in. Not only that you'd be unable to play and show off your skills, but you'd also gimp your team, bringing them defeat. Don't think I don't know how you spend a dozen hours training every day either in the gym or on the pitch. I know how much work you put in. I can see how passionate you are about football. Don't squander your talent. Don't waste this opportunity that you were given. You have to learn to control your emotions. I understand. As punishment for your behavior, you won't be allowed to play in the next match. I'm letting you off for now with a light punishment, but keep my warning in mind, there won't be a second time. Yes, sir, Naruto acknowledged. I give you my word. Although he was hesitant, now that the fear of getting expelled from Blue Lock was gone, Naruto couldn't help asking. What about that betrayer from Team Z? And what's going to happen to Team W if I'm not allowed to play? Are they going to play with only 10 players from the beginning of the match? The moment Wataru Kuon regains consciousness and the medic clears him to leave the infirmary, he will be sent home. If there is one thing you were right about, it's that this isn't the kind of football we do here at Blue Lock. This isn't the type of striker I'm trying to create here. My goal is to make one of you the absolute best striker in the world. The best striker in the world doesn't need to resort to such scummy tactics and trickery. As for Team W, they will play their last match against Team V as a 10-man team. It's what they deserve for going along with that plan and trying to fix the results of a match. As their conversation came to an end and Ego's face disappeared from the screen, Naruto let himself fall back on the bench like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Unknowingly, in his state of anxiety, he had sweated so much that his clothes became soaked. He even started shivering from feeling chilly. A few minutes later, submerged under hot water pouring down from the shower head, Naruto stood with his eyes closed, unable to stop thinking about what he had done. I can't believe I almost ruined this opportunity. It was like a wake-up call for him. It made him understand that he needed to change. I can't keep on acting like this. This isn't the slums and I'm not a rat anymore. I'm going to become a professional football player. It was not something that could be changed in a day, in a week, or even in a month. One's habits and tendencies weren't that easy to get rid of. However, he had all the will and interest to make it happen. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see Siko. Thinking about the elegant girl with long, lustrous purple hair made him sigh. He was not looking forward to telling her why he had to sit out the next match. Chapter 8, The Second Selection. Damn it! Damn it! My dream. It's all because of you. If it hadn't been for you, we would have passed the selection. Some were crying as they packed their belongings, and others were shouting and throwing accusations at Naruto. My fault? I'm the one who carried your ass through all the games. The 10 of you scored 1 goal in 4 matches, and even that one was by rigging the match. You've never given me even 1 pass, yet I still scored 8 goals, all alone. Playing as a 10-man team against Team V, the strongest team in their group, had been no different than suicide. Team V beat them soundly, scoring no less than 7 goals against them, with Team W not scoring any at all. If you had tried including me in your team, we could have all passed to the next selection. But you didn't. Now you reap what you sowed. Saying that, Naruto left the dorm and went to the pitch. He was not in the mood to argue with them. The sooner they were out of his hair, the better. You can take a boy out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of him. Ha ha ha. Shut up. No, it's my fault. I shouldn't have told you in the first place. I knew you were going to laugh. Ah, are you sulking? You're so cute sometimes. Luckily, it was a voice call, not a video call, so Seiko did not get to see how his face flushed at her words. Anyway, how is it at Blue Lock now? We haven't talked in a while. I assume you've been busy? The rest of my teammates were all disqualified and sent home. I've got the dorm and bathroom all for myself now, he said with a chuckle. All by yourself? Does it not get lonely? I've been living on my own ever since my dad passed away. I've gotten used to it. It's even better now because I can talk to you without the others eavesdropping on me. Your father, when did it happen? I was 16. He died of overworking. He had not had any real friends in years. It was also unlike him to be so open about his inner thoughts and his past. However, as he was talking with her, he felt the urge to confide in her. Girls had that kind of effect on guys. Dad used to be a regular salaryman. But one day, he and my godfather made some plans to start a private business, a car rental company. They had been saving up for a while, and Dad also took a big loan from the bank. He took a big risk. He did, but he thought their plan was on point. My godfather was also a man with many connections everywhere, and Dad also trusted him completely. Don't tell me Dash. Yeah, that trust was the end of him. The end of us. That shithead stole all the money and disappeared. Oh my God. But how? Also, did you not report him to the police? I am not sure. I was only 15 when it happened, and they weren't talking about business when I was around. But, from what I found later on, they had a common account for the company, and they both had access to it. He transferred the money from the company account into his, and then he was gone. But the police could trace the transfer and track him down, couldn't they? They can't do that without a warrant, and scams aren't easy to prove either, especially among family members. Dad was also a foreigner, so that made them delay it even more. By the time the police finally started acting, it was too late. He had cashed out all the money and disappeared. For the next 2 years, Dad struggled as much as he could to make ends meet, but, eventually, he couldn't keep up with the monthly payments to the bank, and the bank took our home. A few months after that, Dad died on the job at his desk. Cardiac arrest. I'm sorry to hear that. You've had it rough. Feeling bad for having brought the mood down with his talk, Naruto changed the tone and the subject of the conversation rather abruptly. It's in the past. I'm at Blue Lock now, life is good. The second selection is just around the corner. I can't wait to start playing football again. I haven't touched a ball in a week. You haven't played football in a week? Then what had kept you so busy all these days that you couldn't even send me a text? Explain yourself, mister. He laughed at the tone of her voice. I've been doing physical training. I thought my stamina was great, but Ego-san has been pushing my body to the limit over the past week. 2 hours of endurance runs, intense core training, weightlifting, and dozens of 100-meter long sprints, all that, every day. I was so exhausted for the first 4 days that I fell asleep the instant I went to bed. I wouldn't have missed your texts or calls otherwise. Okay, I'll let it slide this time. But you're on thin ice. As she said that, Seiko giggled, and Naruto laughed together with her. It's such a bummer that we can't see each other. I was really looking forward to it. I was going to take you out shopping in Dash. 3 days later. After 10 days of intense physical training, the first selection finally came to an end. Now, it was time for the second selection to start. Coming to the room designated to hold the second selection, Naruto stared in confusion at the rest of the players, specifically at the rankings and the names of the teams written on their shoulders. Why is everyone's ranking so low? And those guys there too, how can they be from Team W? What's going on? While he was still trying to make sense of the situation, the screens turned on, and Ego's voice came from the speakers. Hello there, diamonds in the rough. Good work on your physical conditioning. You might have already noticed, there are no players from buildings 1, 2, 3, or 4 in here. That's because only building 5 exists in Blue Lock. You all believed that you were at the very bottom of the pile, and you battled through the first selection filled with stupid determination. You put us through all that crazy training. Are you trying to kill us? You lied to us? Screw you. But while the others were shouting at him, filled with indignation, Naruto slapped his fist against his palm. I knew it. I knew there had to be something wrong with my ranking. Looking at how much weaker than me were the majority of players in our group, it made no sense for me to have a rank similar to theirs. Yeah, that's right, Ego said, not affected by their yells in the least. It was all a ruse I set up to destroy that half-baked confidence that you have all come with at Blue Lock and give you the hunger to become the best in the world. As some players started bitching loudly again, Ego raised his voice. Idiots. I'm calling those sentiments half-baked. Listen. Let's take Noel Noah as an example. He's currently considered the best striker in the world, but he grew up in a slum in France. Surrounded by crime and poverty, the only way to change his fate was with a ball. Soccer was literally his only option. Ego's words about Noel Noah hit Naruto very close to home. He's just like me. He was in exactly the same position at the moment. An orphan, barely getting by from one day to another, with nothing to his name. No parents, no money, no smarts, no trade skills, nothing. All he had was football and a dream to one day make it big. A dream to become a professional football player and change his life, to escape poverty. There are countless strikers with similar stories all around the world. Their hunger for goals is immeasurable. Since you were born and raised in Japan, where losing doesn't affect your life, most of you will never know the level of hunger for goals these players have. Ego's words continued to resonate with Naruto. His behavior and attitude on the pitch up until that moment had been precisely as Ego said. Even after securing his position as the top scorer of the team and ensuring that he qualified for the next selection, Naruto never stopped chasing goals. With his teammates actively trying to isolate him completely on the pitch, he could have just taken it easy and waited for the time to pass. But he didn't do that. He continued to run himself ragged for the sake of recovering the ball, and he continuously strived to improve his game for the sake of scoring more goals. Blue Lock exists to give that to you. In fact, you all came here wanting to kick the butts of those ranked above you, believing that you could win. Am I right? That hunger will become the ego that changes the world. With that being said, we will now begin the second selection. The first selection was about finding what it means to be a striker, finding your weapon and turning 0 into 1. From here on, it'll be a battle of multiplying that 1 into 100. The second selection is divided up into 5 different stages. It's a leveling system where you'll only be allowed to move on after clearing each stage. And those who cleared all of the stages and finished the second selection will participate in a strengthening training camp with top world players of my choosing. A murmur of amazement came from the crowd of boys when they heard his promise. When you are ready, go through the gate one at a time. Yes, you heard it right. Alone, not together. The second selection is far more difficult than the first. If you survived the last round because you got lucky with teammates, prepare yourself. In the second selection, the trash will be sifted out first. You go first. No, you do it. No way, man. I'll let others go first. I wonder what they are testing now. While everyone was hanging back, not having the courage to be the first to attempt the test, 2 boys stepped towards the door at the same time. One of them, tall, his black hair arranged in a fashionable style, and with handsome facial features, looked like the heartthrob of most teenage girls out there. As for the other one, he looked like the opposite of him. With his strong-looking body, his spiky blonde hair standing in all directions, and the strange scars on his face, he gave off a dangerous vibe. He looked no different than a thug. Move aside, Naruto said when he saw the black-haired boy had grabbed a ball and stopped in front of the door, presumably to warm up. Is he going to start the selection without even warming up? What's with that guy? I don't like him. He's too cocky. Brushing past Itoshir Rin, who was just about to show off his skills with the ball, Naruto ignored the peanut gallery's words and stepped through the doors. He had warmed up before coming here. Whatever Ego was going to throw at him, he was more than ready for it. Everyone outside is living in 2018, while we, at Blue Lock, are living in 2049, thought Naruto when he saw the hologram of a goalkeeper that suddenly appeared. It reminded him of the trailer of a sci-fi movie that had come out the previous year. As surprised as he was at the apparition of the hologram, he forced himself to stop thinking about it when he saw that the red circle around him started decreasing in size. The goalpost and the size of this room. Ego-san is probably trying to test our goal-scoring ability from inside the box. It's similar to the game of tag before the first selection. Looking at the hologram defending the goal, Naruto narrowed his eyes. Let's see how well it can stop my shots. If it can stop them at all. He grinned. If there was one thing he was good at, it was shooting. This is exactly what I envisioned. The way to clear this stage will change depending on how a player uses their skills. For those who survived because the others did the scoring for them, this 90-minute stage will be a challenge. But, for a striker who can turn 0 into 1 with their own weapon, this is a place to hone and polish their skills so they can evolve, Ego said as he watched the players with great attention. Test out their dash. What with that guy? He's crazy good. Anri unexpectedly cut his monologue short as she pointed towards one particular box on the screen. Oh, him? Ego replied. If we're talking about shooting alone, he's the undisputed #1 player at Blue Lock. This doesn't even qualify as a test, it's more like a training session for him. This is hella fun. Naruto let out a shout as he kicked a fantastic volley, the timing and power of the shoot being so good that neither the hologram goalie nor the moving mannequins came anywhere close to stopping it. As Ego said, his shooting skill was so good that his test could not be counted as such. As he didn't have friends, for the longest time before coming to Blue Lock, Naruto's only playing mate had been a wall. There were many days when he would spend hours just playing passes with the wall or kicking the ball at empty cans. Dribbling, positioning, tackling, tactics, team play, mentality, vision, etc., there were still many areas where he needed to improve as a football player. But when it came to shooting, he was elite. It was one of his two weapons, a formidable weapon that he had polished for years. Even after coming to Blue Lock, due to his teammates' refusal to include him in their plays, he had not received any passes from them. But now that he was in the middle of a 90-minute-long test where he was getting passes continuously and there was a keeper to defend the goalpost, Naruto was having the time of his life. Ha! Am I the first to have come out of the test? He had been so fired up that he forgot all about the number of goals that he had scored before the whistle rang and the robotic voice announced to him the end of the test. I wish it was longer. Or, at least, they should have let me stay the full 90 minutes. Letting out a long sigh, he sat down on the floor and rested his back against the wall. Minutes passed slowly, like a snail. He was starting to get restless. If only I had my phone with me. Thinking about his phone also made his thoughts wander to the two people related to it. He involuntarily smiled as he thought about Siko. Ego-san? Can you hear me? Naruto suddenly said and looked at the screens installed in the room. A few seconds passed without getting an answer, and he was about to let out another sigh when Ego's voice came from the speakers. I can hear you, yes. What is it? Hearing Ego actually give him a reply, Naruto stood up and asked. I was wondering, is the reward system from the first selection still available? Ego took on a thinking posture, as he had not expected that question. I was planning on doing away with it because some of the rewards will become obsolete for the players undergoing the second selection. For example, starting with the second selection, everyone is going to be given beds rather than sleeping on the floor, in a futon. Then, is there another way for me to win a one-day ticket out of Blue Lock? Ah, so that's what you were after. Although Ego didn't show it on his face, Naruto could tell from the tone of his voice that he was inwardly amused. Fine. If you can score 10 goals, you can exchange them for a day outside. But keep in mind that from here onward, it won't be as easy to score as before. Most of the riffraff have already been disqualified, and the goalkeepers will also no longer be amateurs who have never defended before. I understand. Thank you very much. Mere moments after Ego's face disappeared from the screen, the second player to finish the first stage of the second selection came out as well. A brief expression of surprise flashed on his face when he realized that someone had cleared the test faster than him, but he didn't strike up a conversation. He went into another corner of the room and leaned with his back against a wall, crossing his arms to his chest. After that, as minutes trickled by, increasingly more players started coming out of the testing rooms. Form a team of 3 and proceed. As he read the words on the screen, Naruto thought while looking at the rest of the players who had passed the first stage so far. I don't know most of these guys. And since we'll be making teams of 3, every single member is important. I should get myself some decent teammates. Those weren't only his thoughts, everyone wanted the same thing. However, with most of them coming from different groups, they didn't know each other's capabilities. All they could do was judge them by looking at their current ranking. But that wasn't an accurate way of ascertaining someone's skills either, because each player had their own strengths and weaknesses. While some could be average at shooting, they could be talented dribblers or have great vision and positioning. But his face brightened when he saw a short boy with bob-cut hair and yellow eyes coming into the room as well. He was one of the few players who had left a deep impression on him at Blue Lock until then. Hey! Isage! You're here already! Bakira! Reunited again! The two boys high-fived each other, happy to see that they had both passed the first stage. After Isage filled him in on what they had to do next, Bakira asked, "So, who do you want to fill the last spot?" "Huh? There are 2 of us, but there is still 1 spot free. Let's see. The players that come to mind are Kunigami or Chijiri, I guess." "Nice. But we can only choose one of them. Which one would you prefer?" Isage hesitated before answering. "How about teaming up with whoever gets here first?" "Hey, Bakira. I'd like to join your team. What do you think?" Bakira and Isage were startled as they looked at the newcomer. Isage, in particular, gulped. It wasn't as if the one who approached them was some sort of giant. His height was average, but he was so well built and his face looked so intimidating that he couldn't help getting nervous. "He's the number 1? Isage was stunned. But, as he recalled his match against Team W and the recordings of Team W's plays against others, he realized that there was no reason to be surprised. He scored multiple goals from over 30 meters away. The first stage was probably a piece of cake to him. "What do you think, Isage?" Bakira asked. There were 4 players that left a very strong impression on Isage in the first selection. One of them was Shibaro, after Team Z's match against Team X. The second was Saishiro Nagi due to his ball control. The third was Bakira himself. His dribbling was something he had never seen in anyone in his age group. And the fourth was Uzumaki Naruto. His shooting skills and his athleticism were unreal. He was a nightmare to play against. The way that he had knocked Kyuan unconscious with a single punch only cemented his image as a boogeyman in Isage's mind. "It'd be great to have you on our team," Isage began, "but I need to ask you one question first." In spite of how intimidating Naruto appeared to be, Isage wasn't one to back down just because of that. Not when his future at Blue Lock depended on his decision. "Are you going to continue playing in the same way you played with Team W?" "I think you're misunderstanding something. I can pass the ball to others just fine. I can be a team player. They were the ones who excluded me from their game." "Huh? Why would they do something like that? Your skills are amazing," Bakira said in surprise. "I eliminated someone's brother in the game of tag. They were twins, and he took that loss particularly hard. But they were the ones who started it. They targeted me for no reason. After that, I refused to play as a defender, so he managed to turn the whole team against me." He scratched his cheek for a moment before saying, "I guess I could have been more flexible. But they were out of their minds to isolate me. Come to think of it, if we had been a real team, you guys would have probably not passed the first selection." Isage chuckled awkwardly at that. Team Z did cut it very close, especially after the drama with Q1. "All right then. Welcome to our team. Thanks, Naruto said, and they shook hands. Shijiri and Kunigami will probably not like it that we went ahead without them. Isagi thought while he and his two teammates were walking through a corridor towards the indoor pitch where their next match was going to take place. But this is Blue Lock. Only egoists survive here. I have to look after my own interests first and foremost. Thinking that he had gotten the number one player, a striker as overwhelming as Uzumaki Naruto, in his team, Isagi clenched his fists, barely containing his hype about their future matches. Eventually, they reached their destination. Oh, the field is so small. This is no different from a futsal field, Isagi said when they came out and saw the pitch. It makes sense. We are having a 3 versus 3 match, we are too few players for a big football field, Bakara said. A few moments after them, another 3 players arrived. Narahaya? And Shuibero? Isagi said it first in surprise and then in alarm. And the Messi of Aomori too. Bakira also added. Naruto didn't know who the first and the last were, but he knew Shuibero quite well. A feral smile appeared on his face. That's it, guys, for this reading. I hope you liked it, and I thank you for your continued support. Please like and subscribe for a free ticket to the different worlds of anime fanfiction. I look forward to having you on board again.